Di pagmamahal kapit isi buong ibig nakatagit ang bayan palimbang namumukod ang iyong kagandaran kaming lahat ay pinagpala sa iyong biyayang dakila buong buhay ika'y paglilingkuran palimbang probinsya ng Sulan Palimbang, palimbang, palimbang. So high and hearts and love, our voices to you we restore. With joy we sing our praise to you. Beloved SKSU, let's love for you and pray. So the rivers of our mind, you taught us love for love and earth, the endless wonders of land. Hail to you, beloved SKSU, hail to you. We sing to honor you, hail to you. We pray that God will bless you. SKSU. No children finding me. There's a future that shines in me. Through the days and days we stand to bless God and transform the land. Time is out and then we stay. The foundation till death will make our nation clear. Thanks to our Almighty. Hail to you. We pray that God will bless you.
Please be seated.
Hello everyone. This issue that I would like to share
Sorry guys, mayroong mga some technical issues. Without further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Alan S. Kahandig, OIC Campus Director, for the opening remarks.
Okay, good morning, everyone. May I know if I am audible? Can you hear me?
Yes po, Doc.
Very much audible,
Yes po,
sir.
Doc.
Okay, so yes, I would like to acknowledge the following academic institutions, particularly the Mindanao State University of General Santos City Campus, also the Mamansual Abdul National High School, and the Sultan Kudarat State University Palimbang Campus. Of course, to our guests, Sir Jose Paulo de la Cruz. Welcome back to the Philippines, sir. I guess you came from Kazakhstan. Okay. And of course, we have Ma'am Merlani Obungen from the Mamansual Abdul National High School. And of course, our very own Ma'am Famia Kirab from Sultan Kudarat State University. And also, I would like to acknowledge our program chairman for BEd program. We have Sir Jonathan Roque, and of course, for the BSAB program, Ma'am Sara Grande. So, and of course, to our participants who are in attendance in our Google Meet, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So yeah, it's a great day for all of us now. And at first, I would like to acknowledge or extend my gratitude to the proponent of this activity, Ma'am Famia Kirab, for initiating this kind of activity to our students and of course to our teachers. Indeed, the Sultan Kudarat State University Palimbang Campus is committed to the university's mission of undertaking research, of course, to produce graduates with excellence and dignity in art, science, and technology. So, with this, organizing this kind of research forum for our students and as well as for our teachers will surely enhance their knowledge in conducting research. Actually, we just crafted the agenda, the research agenda of the university, and I hope we could conduct many researches to our university and also to our students. This is the first batch of the new curriculum that they will have a requirement, a thesis writing for the BEd program. So this is timely and relevant for everybody, to our students. And for our teacher, of course, it is in our knowledge that we have to engage in research as one of our function in the academe. So, and of course, as motivation na rin for our reclassification for the faculty for your promotion, particularly our publication in an ISI, in Scopus, or even CHED recognized journal. And yon, again, thank you very much for giving your time in this kind of endeavor that we have today. Again, I would like to welcome everybody, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the program this today. So again, thank you very much, and welcome, welcome, welcome to this webinar. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, Doc.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Moving on, let us call our very energetic and multi-talented research coordinator, Sir Randy E. Mayo, MAT, for giving the statement of purpose.
To our co-starter, to our partners from MSU General Santos City, to our esteemed resource speakers, faculty, and our research
Choppy ka, sir.
training. learning is individuals who are in their academic year the same that start and of academic learning development impact with invest as a student my paper is important. There are mentions a research paper skill that you will learn from writing a paper from other academics. These skills will develop academic success. SKSU Palimbang is always committed to its university mission of undertaking research to produce graduates with talent and dignity in academics and technology. As you it is important to equip with skills that you will gain in this research forum. Good luck to all. God and Allah will bless us all today. Good morning once more.
Ayan, thank you so much, Sir Randy. Kahit choppy, pero patuloy pa din. Before I will give the floor to our first resource speaker, again, I'm reminding everyone, participants, to please mute your microphone para hindi po tayo makadistorbo sa ating mga resource speaker. For the introduction of our first resource speaker, please watch this.
Hoping and praying that you will be encouraged. She is presently residing in a far-flung area, somewhere in Barangay Malisbon, Palimbang, Sundang, Colorado, where there is only limited internet connection, but still sacrificing just to continue her study. And she is committed to provide her family with a loving and developmentally sound foundation for a lifetime of learning with her one kid and one and only husband. She finished her elementary grade at Malisbon Elementary School and high school at Mamanswad Abdul National High School, where she is presently employed as secondary school teacher too. She earned her undergraduate studies at University of Mindanao, that was year 2001, with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in General Science. And luckily, by God's grace, she passed the licensure examination for teachers in the next following year. So much with her desire and personal decision, she took her master's degree at Mindanao State University, General Santos City School of Graduate Studies as Master of Arts in Education, major in School Administration, and that was school year 2015 with thesis entitled Teachers' Instructional Competence as Influenced by School-Based Management Practices of School Heads. After a long years, she enrolled in PhD program major in educational management because she believed that learning is a continuous process, not only for professional growth and development, but she wanted to be more confident in her choosing career. Series of discontentment and perseverance, she continued her study as it was her first year in this program, and as a result of being ambitious, but don't you know what but tried her most in her several capacities as she is performing administrative and supervision, as she is designated as a SMEPA coordinator, school monitoring evaluation plan and adjustment, and once chosen as the MEPA Division Monitoring Evaluation Plan and Adjustment virtual presenter in different municipalities of the province of Sultan Kudarat. And at the same time, she was the LIS coordinator of the school, where she finds the most crucial task in the school, holding all the learners' information precise and correct as a system administrator of all the advisors in enrolling the learners in the LIS. And she is also HRD, Human Resource Coordinator, at the same time the school records in charge, as she knows that school records serve as the brain of the school. Before that designation, she is 10 years as a school grade 10 advisor. Her performance in her capacities, she is happy and very involved in the Department of Education. Although she is busy with her life as a full-time mom and a wife, and at the same time a breadwinner, both the family of her and his husband. She is inspired and naka-on ka. Recently, she encountered a lot of issues and challenges, especially in this pandemic time that everybody is under adjustment. But still, she remains strong with courage and with her burning desire to educate learners in a modular grant platform, much more focused with the least fortunate learners in Palimbang. She gained more knowledge about the research as she too much expected in this class with the help of Genaro as a brilliant, knowledgeable, and technology advanced professor. That's also say that she expressed herself almost exclusively through good relationship of her colleagues inside and outside of her workplace, not only to her colleagues but most especially to all internal and external stakeholders. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you will be notified in my next video. Keep safe, everyone. Good luck and God bless us all.
Please help me welcome and put your hands together to our first resource speaker, Merlani C. Ubungen Maed.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Then let me share my screen. Okay, hello everyone. Have a blessed morning to all of us, and I am very thankful. Let's see. Dali lang, ano. Nakita na po ba yung screen ko, Ma'am Pam?
Black po.
Wala,
Yes,
sige.
okay na. Okay
Kita
na,
niyo na?
ma'am.
Okay na.
Kita ko dito,
Yes.
ma'am. It's okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. Have a blessed morning to all of us. So I am very thankful for this opportunity today that God given us. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge also the SKSU Campus Director, Dr. Alan G. Kahandig. Sir, good morning. And of course, to Sir Randy Mayo, the Research Coordinator of the SKSU. And of course, to Sir Jonathan Roque, the SKSU BEd Program Chairperson. And to my co-speakers, to all participants from different schools, thank you so much for the time that you share with us. I know that distance is not hindrance to all of us to continue learning. That's why our burning desire to continue learning one another. So, by the way, I am Merlani Siubungin, your first resource speaker this morning. This morning, we are going to learn the introduction of exploratory sequential mixed methods research design. But before that, I'd like also to give thanks to our Professor Doc Genaro Japos for giving this opportunity and conducting this kind of webinar that we may able to share our knowledge also to the different students of the different schools that uh, our participants this morning. So the topic that I'm going to discuss this morning is all about the introduction to exploratory sequential mixed method design. Okay, so next slide. The objectives of this topic is number one, to discuss the basic idea about mixed methods of research. Then, three basic methods of research design and what is exploratory sequential mixed methods, the characteristics and purpose of exploratory research, and the importance of exploratory research, the advantage and disadvantage of exploratory research, and the 5 steps to conduct the exploratory research. And the last one, we will discuss the methodologies and types of exploratory research. Okay, so before that, before going to the main topic, we will discuss first what is mixed methods. Mixed methods research study that combine qualitative and quantitative methods to answer a research question. And it means that it is an approach to inquiry that combines or associated both the qualitative and the quantitative forms. So the elements of quantitative and the qualitative research approaches are combined to better understand the research issue. So what is mixed method? So when we say mix, it means combine or put together to form one. So these methods of research, we combine quantitative and qualitative to answer research questions. Mixed methods research involves not only including a qualitative and quantitative component in the same study, but also mix them, connecting or combining them in a way that the two are conversation with each other. Beginning a study with an exploratory, then moving sequentially to a quantitative phase, it's sometimes called the exploratory sequential mixed methods. So these methods of research is from the point of view of pragmatism or from pragmatic standpoint. So the philosopher behind this topic or research study is John Dewey. Mixed methods is from the pragmatic standpoint of view, meaning it is dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical consideration. The proponent of this, as what I have said, is John Dewey. Pragmatic is practical concern with the actual doing or use of something rather than with theory and ideas like self-experiences. I know that everybody has its own personal experiences in life. It's either good or bad experiences, and of course, our personal memories. That's why the primary appeal lies with the fact that pragmatism represents a practical and applied research philosophy. It provides the opportunity to investigate what is important to the research and broader society and manner. which is compatible with the questions that one wishes to address. Pragmatism makes the investigation of the perceived problem possible without imposing constraint or shall we say limitations on methods to be used, but allow the researcher the option of making use of all possible tools in order to address the problem in a comprehensive manner. And that is according to Tidley and Tachakori 2003. So in real world practice, methods can be separated from the investigation of what distinguishes justified belief from opinion, out of which they have emerged. One can use statistics in straightforward way without doing a literature review of logical positivism. One can make an interpretation without studying the theory and the methodology of interpretation. So in addition, one can conduct open-ended interviews without reading phenomenology. It means you can conduct an interview or direct investigation and description of phenomena as consciously experienced without theories about their causal explanation. That's why pragmatism lends itself to the use of mixed methods, which provides the researcher with the opportunity to answer the research questions adequately. By using mixed methods, one comes to a more comprehensive understanding of the phenomena under investigation by means of developing a more complete portrayal of the social world and developing fresh perspective and new ideas. The account of research using mixed methods is also more defensible as the results are credible and there is less bias as one method compensates for the other method. Thus, one is able to develop stronger knowledge claim. So, uh, in mixed methods, we have the qualitative and the quantitative. When we say qualitative, it is referred to as the process of collecting as well as analyzing non-numerical data. But in the quantitative, we will collecting data and analyzing with numerical data. So ang kaibahan lang po nila in the qualitative, we will collecting data in qualitative in non-numerical, but in quantitative, that is numerical data. Next, we have three basic mixed methods research design. So the first methods is the convergent parallel design or the quanti plus qualitative. Then we have the explanatory sequential design or the quantitative and the qualitative design. And number three basic methods of research is the exploratory sequential design or the quali-quanti, which is, yun po yung ating topic ngayon. We will explore more with the exploratory sequential design. So, let us learn the three mixed methods research design. Although some books reflected four basic mixed methods of research design, but this morning we highlight only the three: the convergent, exploratory, and the exploratory design. So these three basic design, the convergent, the exploratory, and the explanatory. So, by the way, what is convergent parallel research design? So, it involves simultaneous collection of quantitative and qualitative data. So, that's why in convergent, we will do first collecting data through quantitative, then next through qualitative. So, as reflected, the plus sign, the first concurrent timing and the implementation of the two research approaches, the qualitative and the quantitative. This is also known as concurrent triangulation design because the data is collected and analyzed individually, but at the same time, this according to Edmonds and Kennedy 2017, for example, a researcher is interested to determine the reasons of individual on their resistance on vaccination. So what we are trying to see here is the COVID-19 vaccination. So to completely obtain the more comprehensive result of the study, a convergent parallel research design might be employed. The researcher was surveyed the respondents on the reasons of the resistance and also will conduct the focus group discussion or an FGD on the same issue to identify participants after the survey and interview the researcher would analyze the results of the survey and focus group independently emerge these two results to assist if there are possible convergence. So meaning if there is two forces are moving together or if there is a significant or divergence if it is two things are moving apart or non-significant of the reasons regarding the topic. And the next is the explanatory. What is explanatory? So in this approach, quantitative results that are unclear, unexpected, insignificant, and even results are um, considered to be outliers may be clarified in a qualitative phase. And then next is consider this simple research question. Uh, for example, number one, is there a significant difference in the anxiety level between male and female student in school A? And another question to be considered in the explanatory is, does quantitative results triangulate with the uh, live experiences of subsample students in school A? So in question number one, we will do first the uh, before the qualitative. So next is the exploratory sequential research design. So the qualitative data collection and analysis is followed by quantitative data collection and analysis. So we will collect data in exploratory from qualitative to quantitative. So this is a reverse explanatory sequential. The qualitative data collection and analysis is followed by the quantitative data collection and analysis. In the design, the qualitative phases used to develop or even inform the quantitative study. So the purpose of the design is to help generalize the qualitative findings or even help in the design of an instrument. So that was the three basic research methods, the convergent, explanatory, and exploratory sequential design. Next, we have here the mixed methods elements. So we have two mixed methods elements. We have the mixed methods research questions and the mixed methods design. So when we say explanatory questions, these questions are about explaining the causes for something. This question seeks to answer why question. In this case, the researcher is trying to identify the causes and effects of whatever phenomenon is being studied. And when we say exploratory questions, this is similar to descriptive questions in quantity research. This form of questions looks to understand something, for example, asking how or perception around a certain topic. In this question, you involve investigating a research question that is not clearly understood or defined. And the last one is the convergent question, may also referred to us as close-ended questions or an open-ended question like yes or no, meaning that the instructor is looking for anticipated response that requires little original thought on the student part. Example, what is one word that would describe? So, converging means all closed question that can be answered in one or two words. So, let's say, for example, like what I have said, the yes or no, the open-ended question. Then, next is we have the three types of mixed methods questions. We have the explanatory, exploratory, and the convergent. So, process of the exploratory sequential mixed method design is characterized by an initial qualitative phase of the data collection analysis, followed by a phase or quantitative data collection on analysis, with the final phase of integration or linking of data from the two separate strands of data. So in the first phase, researchers collect qualitative data and then analyze the data, the result of which direct the next quantitative phase, which would be a survey or some other forms of quantitative data collection. The qualitative analysis provides critical development specific research questions for the quantitative phase, which involves questionnaire, survey, or other form of quantitative data collection. So the rationale for lies in first exploring a topic before deciding what variables need to be measured. We can think of an exploratory sequential design as a template that is applied to specific research situation, but each situation might use this design differently. So the first question to us is, what we already know, given the existing literature. In other words, the point of departure may vary for researcher adapting the design. For situations where a literature review reveals few findings to guide us, the qualitative phase might be rewarding in allowing us to discern a new dependent variables. That is, we might already topic variables and pre-existing measures for the independent variables, but we might be missing the dependent variables. In general, the qualitative analysis will help us identify a larger range of topic and how individuals frame and understanding around particular event or phenomenon. So the qualitative phase is described as exploratory because this data driven rather than driven by a conceptual framework. However, this does not mean that we are not allowed to use information from a literature review, only that we are using the qualitative data to better understand the research problem. So this type of research help a researcher to establish a strong foundation for his research and to choose correct research design and variables which are important for the analysis. Exploratory research help us researchers to save time and resources along with the usefulness of conducting. Okay, next. Next is to give more emphasis with exploratory sequential mixed methods. It is an approach combining qualitative again and quantitative data collection and analysis in the sequence or phases that is according to John Criswell and Plano Clark 2018. Next is we have the characteristics of exploratory research. So we have 10 characteristics of exploratory research. Number one, exploratory research is inexpensive and interactive, unrestricted, and open-ended in nature. And it is also an unstructured type of research. And no pre-research is conducted to support exploratory research, and even there is no prior information available on the problem from the past research. And number 4, it enables a researcher to answer all questions like why, how, and what. And number 5, all available materials should be studied in detail. Number 6, it consumes a lot of time to conduct exploratory research, and it might sometimes lead to disappointments. And number 7, there is no standard format to carry out exploratory research. And number 8, there must a few theories which can verify your outcomes. And number 9, make sure that the problem you are going to conduct research about should have importance and value. And the last one, most of the time you will get qualitative data as an outcome of this research. So those are the characteristics exploratory research. Next, what is the importance of exploratory research? So this research, it helps a researcher to build understanding about the problem of the research. So the purpose of conducting this research is to explore the problem and areas around it and not to reach a conclusion. Then we have also the advantages and the disadvantages of this exploratory research design. So we will discuss first the advantages. So the first advantages of the exploratory research is this research design is flexible and inexpensive. And number 3, you get better insight on the problem, and a researcher can decide at an early stage whether to pursue or not to pursue the research. And the disadvantage of exploratory research, we have inclusive in nature. And this research provides qualitative data which can be biased and judgmental. And number 3, outcomes cannot be generalized. Then number 4, there are chances that data obtained from secondary resources is obsolete and old. So those are the disadvantages of the exploratory research design. And then next is we have also the 5 steps on how we are going to conduct the exploratory research. Number 1, first is to identify the problem, build your hypothesis, choose your methods of research, and conduct the research. And after that, we're going to analyze the results. So in identifying the problem, we will find out the problem that you want to address. Kung ano yung gusto mong malalaman, we will find out. Then, build your hypothesis. So meaning, we're going to make our own hypothesis. So when we see hypothesis, that is a tentative answer to the question that you want to know more or to address. So it will provide a direction to your research. Later, you can refuse or prove the hypothesis on the basis of the outcome of your study. So mapuprove mo after conducting the study if your hypothesis is correct or not. Then, choose your method of research. So you can use one or more method to conduct your research. The number 4, conduct the research. Spend a good time to explore different sources and make sure you are not missing an aspect of the research. And the last one is analyze the results. So there are many methods for analysis. Using those methods, you can come down to the result of your hypothesis and provide it right or wrong. Next, we have also the methodologies of exploratory research. We have the primary researching method and the secondary researching method. Under primary researching method, we have the interview, survey, observational method, and focus group discussion or FGD. Under secondary researching method, we have the literature research, online research, and case study research. First is interview. So when we say interview as one of the method to collect a data under primary researching method, meaning we are collecting data or gathering information by meeting a people face-to-face or over the telephone kasi ngayon pandemic, di ba? Or cellphone, especially for consultation. An interview is essentially a structured conversation where one participant asks question and the other provides answer. In common word, interview refers to one-on-one conversation between an interviewer and the interviewee. You can collect in-depth information on the subject using the in-person interview technique. This research will provide your qualitative data. If you can get an interview with a person who is an expert in that subject, can help you to gather a lot of useful data. Usually, open-ended questions are asked in interviews, and interviews can be conducted in person as well as on the telephone. For example, you interview a loyal customer for your company or in your certain institution to know about their experience with a certain organization. The next is the survey. Survey in research, survey is a list of questions aimed for extracting specific data from a particular group of people. Survey may be conducted by phone, via mail. This method is used to collect data from a predefined group of participants. Data collection activity from this method is quantitative in nature. A variety of polls and survey can be conducted to explore trend, opinion of people. Survey can be conducted both online also as well as offline. With the advancement of technology, it has become easy to conduct a survey. So you can use audience worldwide respond to your survey. In this way, you can get opinions of a diverse audience. In addition to this, you can collect also get and real time. Response rate can be increased by providing rewards to respondents. For example, a survey can be conducted about the price range of mobile phones that most people usually buy within. And next, observational method. So these methods of research technique where researchers observe participants' ongoing behavior in natural situation. In other words, researchers can capture data on what participants do as opposed to what they say they do. In this type of exploratory research, the researcher does not make direct contact with the subject. There are two types of observational study. The subject is aware that he is being observed, and the subject has no idea about the research. So yung respondents natin, maaring alam niya na siya ay i-observe or maaring alam niya or hindi siya aware na siya ay i-observe. There is a high chance that you will get fair data by the second method. However, it can be difficult to conduct. This research can provide both types of data, qualitative or quantitative. For example, an ice cream company wants to know which size of ice cream people usually prefer when they buy ice cream. So, Another example of observational method is the anecdotal records. This observation is usually recorded after the events has occurred and written in the past tense, learning stories and photographs. And the last one in the primary researching method is the FGD, or the focus group discussion. This method served to solicit participants' attitudes and perceptions, knowledge and experiences and practices shared in the course of attraction with different people. And it is facilitated by a professional external moderator or the researcher. So this method is very frequently used by a researcher to find an answer to their questions. To conduct this study, a group of people is chosen. They are asked to express their views on the subject of the study. However, you should make sure the people that you are choosing for the discussion have the same background and sort for similar experiences. For example, a focus group can help you to get insight on what people usually think about before buying any thing that they want. Then the next methodology is the secondary researching method. Secondary research uses the existing resources and the subject under study. To conduct this research, you can conduct information from resources like newspaper, books, articles, magazines, and case study. The first one is literature research. So literary research means finding something new within a literary work. It really simple. The purpose is to gain an understanding of the existing research and debates relevant to a particular topic or study of area of study. This type of research is most inexpensive exploratory research. You can make the use of abundance of information available in libraries, online sources, such as discussion forum, websites, government and commercial database. You can get information from resources like newspaper, articles, documents from the government, published statistics, annual reports, specific topic related articles, and etc. However, you cannot rely on information gathered from all types of resources blindly. Documents from government agencies can be valid, but they can cost you some amount of money. You can also get useful data from educational institutes. For example, a company conducts exploratory research using literature before introducing a new product in the market. This research will help them to understand the trends in the current market. And next is online research. Online research are ways in which researchers can collect data via the internet, or shall we say web-based methods in collecting a data. This type of research is the fastest and easiest way to collect data. You can conduct this research at the comfort of your home or office, on your laptop or mobile phone. There is an abundance of data available online. A user can download it and use it whenever he wants to. However, one should make sure the authenticity and genuineness of the online sources before using its information in your study. So sa topic ni Ma'am pamamaya, tuturuan kayo how we are going to make sure the authenticity in searching your related literature in the Google Scholar. For example, you can easily find out the leading features preferred by people while and you can simply enter a query in search engine and can get thousands of links to websites which provide similar information. So nowadays, we cannot avoid technology, because we are in the world of great perplex of technology. We will use every now and then communicating one another through technology. And the last one is the case study. Case study research, intensive study about a person, a group of people, or a unit, which aim to generalize over several units. A case study has also been described as an intensive systematic investigation of a single individual group, community, or some other unit in which the researcher examines. So using this research, researcher can find out information on the problem by studying the existing cases that have gone through a similar problem as yours. So these methods is useful and critical, especially in the world of business. But it is important for a researcher to analyze all variables of the existing case to use in his research. So these methods also preferred by uh, health organization, yung WHO natin, ang social sciences sectors to conduct research. For example, doctors using the cases performed by successful doctor to improve their own practice. The above was all the information about the exploratory research insight. Hope the article helps you in conducting an exploratory research that you have to in the future. Okay, so according to Albert Einstein, play is the highest form of research. That's why a mixed method of research is from the pragmatic standpoint point view. That practicability. So meaning learning by doing. So in doing a research, learning by doing is very important. So that's all my topic. Thank you for listening. And I hope you gain basic knowledge about our topic, the exploratory sequential mixed method of research. Thank you so much for the time.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. To all participants, kung may katanungan po kayo kay ma'am, just raise a hand so that ma-recognize po kayo.
Yes, if you have any questions, so we are here to help one another.
I hear none. So let us proceed to our next resource speaker. Please put your hand together to our next resource speaker, none other than Ma'am Pamia Kirab Maed.
China. Let me begin with myself introduction. Fahmia Dimakilang Kirab is born and raised in Malisbong, Palimbang, Sultan Kudarat. She graduated her Bachelor of Secondary Education, majoring English at Mindanao State University, General Santa City in 2010, with a thesis entitled Effects of Stress in Reading Comprehension of the BSed Students in MSU Jensen. She was one of the recipients of Sultan Kudarat Award, a leadership award for Bangsamoro Youth Leaders in Song Sargent. Before she took and passed the licensure examination for teachers in 2011, she had undergone academic course on public policy development and advocacy at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City, as part of the Congressional Internship Program for Young Mindanao Leaders Cycle 10. This grant had given her an opportunity to have a hands-on experience in policymaking and finally came up with a policy proposal entitled The Strengthening Sangguniang Kabataan Engagement in Community Development that inspires her to involve the SK leaders of Palimbang in every community extension program she is organizing. Being part of the CP Mil 10, she also have a governance exposure at the House of Representatives in Batasang Pambansa, Quezon City, assigned as an intern at the Reference and Research Bureau, which provides bill drafting, legislative counseling, and research services to the House members that tune her ability in research undertakings. She earned her Master of Arts in Education, major in English, at Holy Trinity College Incorporated of General Santos City. She is one of the article contributors of the HTC Graduate School official publication. She graduated in 2019 with a thesis entitled Surfacing Tagabiwang Maguindanon Folktales, Basis for a Compilation of Indigenous Materials for Literature, which she presented during the 4th International Conference of the Philippine Association for Study of Culture, History, and Religion, or PASTURE Incorporated, that had given her an opportunity to become an associate member for 1 year. But because of her very limited knowledge and motivation on research, she has not pursued the publication of her study. She served the Department of Education, Sultan Kudarat Division for 6 years, holding different designations, mostly on student leadership, reading, and journalism. She rendered 2-year service at Palimbang National High School and 4 years in Mamanswal Abdul National High School. She is currently teaching as Instructor 1 at Sultan Kudarat State University, Palimbang Campus, the only college institution in the municipality. She is designated as Student Body Organization Advisor, Gender and Development Coordinator, and Alumni Coordinator. She is the chairperson for the 5S plus 2S committee that had given her the chance to attend national training on 5S Good Housekeeping and Governance at the Development Academy of the Philippines in Tagaytay City. She is also a campus focal person for the various restoration program of the university that had given her an opportunity to attend VRP National Capacity Building 6 with the theme Great Leaders in Times of Transition, conducted by the Council for Restoration of Filipino Values based in Baguio City. As one of the fourfold functions of the university, Ms. Kirab's passion in writing has been awakened, and she started to engage in different research endeavors. As a matter of fact, she was able to take part in documenting the terrific oral history of her homeland conducted by the Human Rights Violations Victims Memorial Commission in partnership with Sultan Kudarat State University and UP Diliman History Department that leads to the launching of the published book entitled Takbil Mosque, Palimbang Massacre, a Reader. This undertaking made her more interested in digging deeper about this incident that happened in 1974. She was also able to write her own narratives regarding this atrocity, which she entitled Dig Your Own Grave, The Untold Stories of Malisbong Massacre, and a drama script entitled Usaka, a Maguindanao word which means heritage. She is currently working on a research proposal with her colleagues about the psychosocial effect of the massacre to the survivors and the family of the victims. She is also part of the proposal on the RIDO interventions and settlement processes in the community. Her active engagement in research made her an alternate point person for coalescing organizations towards local-led actions to boost development, or COLAB-DEV, a partnership project between Action for Economic Reforms, or AER, and the United States Agency for International Development, in which the municipality of Palimbang is one of the few recipients. Due to numerous demands for professional development, she finally convinced herself to pursue a doctorate degree because she believes that equipping yourself with adequate knowledge will make you achieve the output you desire. Because she do believe in the notion you cannot give what you do not have.
So thank you so much, Queen Andy Sherdo, for sharing the screen. So at least maganda na yung ating video. Okay. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuhu. Peace be with you, and may the mercy of Allah and the blessings of Allah be bestowed upon us. So before I start, my due respect to our OIC Campus Director, Dr. Alan J.S. Kahandig. Thank you so much, sir, for allowing us to conduct this activity in our campus. Of course, to our campus research coordinator, my partner in research undertakings, Professor Randy E. Mayo. And to our two program chairperson, Professor Jonathan P. Roque and Professor Sarah Jane D. Grande for BSAB. I will be discussing to you, nakalimutan ko, of course, ang aking group mates, Sir De La Cruz and Ma'am Merlanie Obongin. So thank you so much po for allowing me na yung ating this is actually our requirement for advanced research in our PhD. So thank you so much dahil pinagbigyan nila tayo na kayo na students namin from Palimbang ang maging recipient. So with that, allow me to share my screen so that I can start with my presentation. Queen, naka-stop screen ka na?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So where is my screen? So ayan na, no, ang dami nating kasi first time natin ito. Sir Pao, first time po talaga naming mag-conduct ng webinar for our students.
Damihan pa natin, ma'am, sa susunod.
Yes, inshallah.
Yung iba, ma'am, nag-share lang sila ng isang CP, ma'am. Kawawa din.
Oo nga. Okay lang. At least ganyan din po kasi ito yung problema natin, yung signal. Pag maraming gumagamit, medyo humihina. So how's my screen? Makikita nyo po?
Yes po, ma'am.
Very clear, ma'am.
Okay. Naka-full screen?
Wala, ma'am.
Naka-full screen na ako dito eh. So, ibig sabihin talagang may problema tayo pag nagfo-full screen siya. Nagba-black.
Yes, ma'am.
Pero kahapon, ma'am, di ba nag-try tayo? Okay naman.
Gani, ma'am. Pero ngayon, mahina talaga, ma'am. As in, ma'am.
Sige. So, sige lang.
Sige lang, at least.
Ganyan na lang. Okay. So, I will be discussing to you. Ayaw talaga. The topic on how to analyze qualitative data. So because in an exploratory sequential mixed method design, the first phase is qualitative data. As discussed to you by Ma'am Merlanie Ubongin, exploratory sequential is a mixture of qualitative and quantitative data. So according to the most popular speaker and proponent of mixed methods of research, si John Creswell, sabi niya, exploratory sequential was designed because we love stories. 'Di ba? Mahilig tayo sa stories. In fact, one of our favorite pastime is street chatting. We love to tell our stories and we also love to listen to other stories. Qualitative data is the story phase of exploratory sequential. Then, we validate the story through quantitative data. Kaya siya mixture of qualitative and quantitative data. Yung mga naririnig nating stories ay binavalidate natin using quantitative data. So, yan po yung i-discuss ni Sir Paulo mamaya. Say, somebody told you that playing ML. Sino ba yung mga naglalaro ng ML dito? Raise your hand.
Intellism.
Ayan. So, sabi nila, ML is fun. It is their boredom. But they hear a lot of trash talks and they hate it. Then you want to validate. So, narinig mo yon sa dalawa, tatlong naglalaro ng ML and then you want to validate or confirm what they said. So, you will conduct a survey if ML players feel or think the same to support the claim of those were told to you. So, that makes exploratory sequential. So, before I proceed with my main topic, let me ask you, what is qualitative data? Sino bang gusto magbasa? Para meron naman kayong participation. Anybody? Just raise your hand. Can you see my screen?
Ma'am, hindi nagmo-move yung screen. Ayan,
Oh
okay
my
na.
goodness. So, hindi talaga siya pwedeng
Okay na siya, ma'am. Nandiyan na siya ngayon.
Okay. So, sinong pwedeng magbasa? Baka natutulog na kayo dyan. May nakita ka ba? Nag-raise ng hand, wala.
Meron ma'am, si Queen Anne po.
Queen Anne, ma'am.
Yes, Queen. Pakibasa.
What is qualitative data? Qualitative data is data that is not easily reduced to numbers. Qualitative data tends to answer questions about the what, how, and why of a phenomenon rather than questions of how many or how much.
Okay. So, thank you, Queen. Qualitative data is answering the question what, how, or why. So, ibig sabihin, we are dealing words when we are having the qualitative data. While si quantitative data, ang question ay how much or how many. So, meaning, this is dealing with numbers. So, next is, how do we gather qualitative data? Methods of qualitative data collection are classified as being direct or indirect in approach. The direct approach is when the purpose of the qualitative research is disclosed or otherwise obvious to the respondents. Yung ini-explain mo sa respondents na kaya ka nagsa-survey, kaya ka nagkakandak ng research ay sinasabi mo kung ano yung purpose. Whereas, indirect approach is when the purpose of research is disguised or kept hidden. It is direct approach when the goal of the research is to understand a respondent's attitude, assumptions, feelings, or understanding of a phenomenon. While indirect approach aims to understand the respondent's behavior or habits. So kaya hindi pwedeng malaman yung indirect dahil ang pag-aaralan mo dito yung behavior, yung habit nung iyong research participant.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am Fam. I'm sharing the
Yes.
screen, ma'am ha. Sabihan mo lang kung mag-change screen na tayo.
Ay, okay, sir. Sige.
Para better
Mag-
yata dito sa akin ma-full screen natin.
Sige, sige. Stop screen ko muna, sir.
Ako nang nakashare ng screen, ma'am.
Ay, okay. Sige. So, ay, wait lang, sir. Sa slide 3 na tayo, sir. Okay. So, how is direct approach done? So paano ba natin ginagawa ang direct approach? There are two popular methods to conduct a direct approach to data collection. First is the focus group discussion or FGD, and the second one is the in-depth interview. So na-discuss kanina ni Ma'am Mer kung ano yung tinatawag nating interview. So next slide, sir. What is a focus group discussion? So focus groups are interviews conducted by a moderator among a small group of respondents or research participants. In this method of gathering data, there is a group synergy and dynamics that might generate interesting findings. Every member of the group is involved in the sharing. So when we say focus group discussion, meron tayong i-interview na grupo, small group of people. And then, bibigyan natin sila ng, magtatanong tayo isang question for all of them, and then they will share their answers. So, but in this method, peer or influence of a dominant group member might bias the data or lead to groupthink. So, bakit siya magkakaroon ito yung medyo problema sa focus group discussion? Kasi, there is an influence of dominant group member. Say, pag nagtanong ka, tapos karamihan, ganito ang sagot nila, yung kakaiba ang sagot doon, minsan, hindi na siya magsasalita kasi nga, rule of majority. So yun yung isa sa disadvantage ng focus group discussion. Then the sample size is small and likely homogeneous. Sa focus group discussion, limited lang yung ating sample size. You only need 10 to 20 person in an FGD. So, ang FGD natin, pwedeng 10, pwedeng 20, hanggang 50. Pero, pag masyadong marami yan, mahirap siyang i-manage. So, ang possible or ang recommended ay 10 to 20 only. When we conduct FGD, we should not gather heterogeneous groups. So, dapat daw homogeneous. Pag sinabi nating homogeneous, pare-parehong individuals yung nandoon sa isang grupo. Kasi ang tendency, there might be an argument or debate due to differences. So mahirap siyang i-manage, hindi ka matatapos sa iyong data gathering kung magkakaiba yung iyong participants. Say, pag ang research mo ay regarding religion, hindi mo pwedeng pagsamahin sa isang grupo or isang grupo lang i-interview mo ang Muslim at saka ang Christian kasi magkaiba sila ng belief. So pag nagdebate sila, mahihirapan kang mag-manage ng iyong FGD. So better if you want to understand the beliefs ng Christian, igrupo mo sila as one group, then yung Muslim, igrupo naman sila as one group. So yun yung ating FGD. Next slide, sir. In in-depth interview, it is conducted one-on-one by a moderator. So pag sinabi nating in-depth interview, one-on-one, it uncovers deeper insights and easier to interview professionals. It enables usage of diverse range of question types and media. The respondent anonymity reduces social desirability bias. However, in in-depth interview, labor is intensive and slow. Kasi nga, isa-isa mo silang i-interview and its lack of structure makes it more susceptible to bias. So when you are having an in-depth interview, ang recommended na participants ay 5 to 10. So that will be enough for qualitative research. Unlike sa quantitative na marami, pwedeng marami. Sa ating qualitative data, we will limit it to 5 to 10. Yung kung in-depth interview ang ating gagamitin. Kapag FGD naman, 10 to 20 will be enough for this type of research. So next slide, sir. So to gain an accurate picture of a respondent's behavior in an indirect approach of data gathering, we have projective technique. So projective technique is applied. It is an unstructured or indirect way of research that encourages respondents to project their underlying motivations regarding the issue research. So for example, there are multiple ways to use a projective technique. So sabihan niyo po ako ha kung masyado akong mabilis. Nakaka-follow kayo?
Yes, ma'am.
Say, example is the association exercises. So dito, respondents are asked their first come-to-mind reaction to stimuli. For instance, ask them, when you hear the word hurricane, what comes in your mind? So, parang ganun yung sa association exercise. And then for completion exercises, respondents complete an incomplete scenario. So, magbibigay ka ng scenario and then ang magpapatuloy ng scenario na yon is yung iyong research participants. So, construction exercises will ask respondent to construct a story or description. So, pwede magpakita ka ng picture, then gagawa niya yun ng story. Then, the expressive exercise will relay what the respondents think others would feel towards stimuli. So, sa expressive exercise, tatanungin mo siya, yung respondent or yung research participants, kasi research participants po ang term kapag na ginagamit kapag qualitative ang ating research. Dito sa expressive exercise, we are going to ask our participants kung ano ba yung naiisip niya na sasabihin ng ibang tao regarding this topic. So, yun yung ating expressive exercise. These ways of projective techniques may elicit insights that would not be possible if the respondent knows the purpose of the research. If they do not know the purpose, it reduces the risk of bias, and it is better in gaining insights related to subconscious behaviors. However, this kind of data gathering method has risk of interpretation bias because it is difficult to analyze results due to open-ended and creative nature of the data captured. It's impossible to know whether the behavior presented would be the same if not observed. So ito yung medyo disadvantage ni projective technique kasi hindi natin malalaman kung yung pinapakita bang behavior ng iyong ini-interview ay yun talaga yung kanyang behavior kapag hindi siya inoobserbahan. Next slide, sir. So how do we make the stories we heard research data? So sabi natin kanina, the qualitative phase in exploratory sequential is the story phase. So, kwento. Pero yung kwento, paano natin siya gagawing research data? So, in the qualitative phase, we begin with transcribing or by writing down all words that had been heard or said. So, in interviewing, we are using a recorder and we must copy or write everything that we recorded to have our transcription. This is the tedious part in qualitative data, but today, research is made easy for us. Kasi mostly, in my experience, I spent 3 months to transcribe yung sinusulat mo lahat ng naririnig mo doon sa recorder na sinabi ng iyong respondents. Kasi iniisa-isa mo talaga. But today, Madali na lang siya because there is already an automatic audio to text transcription app. Pwede nating subukan yung sa temi.com, spelled as temi.com. So, pwede kang mag-record or mag-transcribe dyan ng audio, but the accuracy of this software is not 100%. Like yung ating auto caption on Facebook or sa YouTube, nakikita nyo yung video na merong subtitles. So, hindi lahat ng nakasulat doon ay tama. So, yun yung trabaho ni researcher. Kailangan ay accurate, tama yung pagkakasulat. Kung ano yung naririnig, yun din yung nababasa. So, that is called transcription. So after that is analyzing the data by first coding textual segments, categorizing them, then considering more abstract themes or code combinations that suggested more evocative concepts, and then finally verifying the data. Next slide, please. So one method that we use in analyzing qualitative is thematic analysis. So what is thematic analysis? It is a method for analyzing qualitative data that entails searching across a data set to identify, analyze, and report repeated patterns according to Brown and Clark 2006. There are various approaches to conducting thematic analysis. Next slide, sir. But the most common form follows a six-step process originally developed for psychology research by Virginia Brown and Victoria Clark. However, thematic analysis is a flexible method that can be adopted for many different kinds of research. Next slide, sir. So this is the 6 steps introduced by Brown and Clark. Familiarization, coding, generating themes, reviewing themes, defining and naming things, then finally writing up. So for illustration purposes, let us discuss these suggested 6 steps one by one. Next slide, sir. Familiarization. The first step is to get to know our, pindot ulit, sir. Hindi pala ito nalagyan ng ano. Okay. The first step is to get to know our data. It is important to get a thorough overview of all the data we collected before we share or we start analyzing individual items. So this might involve transcribing audio, reading through the text and taking initial notes, and generally looking through the data to get familiar with it. So yun ang first step. Ita-transcribe mo siya, then you have your notes, and of course, titingnan mo kung ano ba yung mga nakalagay or nakasulat na sa iyong notes. Next up, we need to code the data. Next slide, sir. So what is coding? Coding means highlighting sections of our text. So we already have a transcription. Yung narinig mong yung narinig mo sa iyong in-interview ay nakasulat na siya because of transcription. So usually, ang ginagawa sa coding, we are highlighting sections of our text, usually phrase or sentences, and coming up with shorthand labels or codes to describe their content. Because coding is how you define what the data you are analyzing are about according to Gibbs in 2007. Naka-highlight ang define. So pag sinabi nating coding, dinidefine, binibigyan natin ng kahulugan yung sinabi ng ating research participant. Next, sir. So ito yung example ng coding. So as you can see, sige, anybody who wants to read the statement? Para hindi kayo antukin. Sinong nag-raise ng hand? Shika May. Sige, pakibasa ng statement. I went to the
Statement.
grocery.
I went to the grocery store and to the liquor store, where things were moving at an unusual fast pace. I sat and watched the news. Greg and his mother arrived safely, and we passed the rest of the night watching the weather and discussing past hurricanes they had weathered while living in North Carolina for the last 10 years. They had lived at Buxton, NC for a number of years and now live on
Harker's Island.
Harker Island. I was convinced that they were idiots for remaining so close to the ocean during hurricanes.
Hurricanes. Okay, so thank you so much, Shika May. So this is an example of a data that we get from our research participants. So meron siyang sinabi sa'yo. Ito yung kwento niya. So paano mo siya i-analyze as qualitative para maging research data? So kung mapapansin nyo, naka-highlight ang the news. So the term the news was coded media. Nilagyan natin siya ng code na media. And then naka-green ang Greg. Ano ang kanyang code?
Partner.
Okay, partner. And then itong naka-orange na watching the weather and discussing past hurricanes, ano ang kanyang code?
Socialize.
Socializing. So how about for the last 10 years?
Time.
Yes, we coded it as time. And I was convinced it's coded as
Beliefs.
beliefs.
Socialize.
Okay. So, nilalagyan natin siya ng code. And later on, magkakaroon tayo ng theme. Paano natin i-interpret yung data na ito? Next. Yeah. So, next slide, sir. This data set, ay, ano yan? Parang lumampas ako. Sige. So, why do we need to learn? Balik, sir. Okay na po yun. Why do we need to learn coding? So, because according to Strauss in 1987, any researcher who desired to become expert at doing qualitative data analysis must learn to code well and easily, because the quality of research rests largely on the excellence of coding. So, kailangan na marunong tayong mag-code kung gusto natin na maganda yung output, yung outcome ng ating qualitative research. So, but nowadays, there are already available text analysis software for coding and analysis. So, katulad ng transcription kanina, meron na ding software ngayon for coding and analysis. Kasi because of technology, pinapadali yung buhay natin. That's the power of technology, di ba? So when I surfed the internet, I found out that Sonar Cube and Code Grip are there to make the code review process seamless and quick. So kung qualitative data kayo and then nandun na kayo sa coding, pwede natin gamitin ang Sonar Cube. It's spelled as S-O-N. Itatype ko sa ating chat box para kung meron, just in case na mag-coding kayo, pwede nyong subukan itong mga software na ito. Nasa website yan. Pero, just like other software, we need to pay for it. But it also has a free trial that we can explore before we pay any of this recommended software for coding. So, bago kayo magbayad, kung kailangan nyo talaga ng software for coding, i-try nyo muna kasi may trial naman si Sonar Cube and Code Grip kung saan ba doon yung mas gusto ninyo sa dalawa na yan bago kayo magbayad. So lahat po ng galaw ngayon ay may bayad kaya medyo magastos ang research. So next. Sige. To further our discussion on coding, we have different ways of coding data. Codes were either deductive that we initially considered as provisional codes relevant for the study and inductive topics that we discerned during data review. In short, we conducted a generic qualitative study rather than employing a specific qualitative tradition such as grounded theory or case study. Later, we will have an example for appreciation of how we code the data. Meron na tayong example kanina pero dagdagan natin later on. So, next slide, sir. Going back to the research questions about experience, we would ask, how do people experience living through a hurricane? Kasi ang example natin kanina is experience on hurricane. We are also interested in topics related to experience, such as people and settings. Hence, when we began this study, we had a small set of priori or deductive codes. These were based on assumptions regarding what young adults would write about in their hurricane accounts. So pag sinabi nating deductive code, magsiset tayo ng codes na ini-expect natin na yun ay isa sa mga isasagot ng ating research participants. So next, sir. Next slide. It means that deductive coding starts with a predefined set of codes. Pindot pa ulit, sir. Sige. Then assign those codes to new qualitative data. These codes might come from previous research or might already know what themes you're interested in analyzing. For example, the deductive codes for hurricane were emotions, family, friends, neighbors, decision-making, media, flood conditions, and property loss. So deductive code is also called as concept-driven coding. So, si deductive code ay meron tayong nakaset na code na galing sa previous researches na related sa ating topic. So, this time, magkakaroon tayo ng pahapyaw na workshop. So, to look for previous researches, I want everybody to perform this. You have to go to Google.
Wait, ma'am.
Sige. Go to
Change sharing
Google.
ako, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Mag-demo ta o Google Scholar, sir. Sige. Go to Google, everybody. Then type Google Scholar. So type Google Scholar. So makikita niyo dyan, googlescholar.com. So dito, you need to register. So if you have time, mag-register kayo sa Google Scholar. So kung nakikita ninyo si Sir Jose Paulo ay meron na siyang account. Tuturo pa natin kung paano gumawa ng account, sir.
Turo, ma'am.
Sige, baka
kasi magamit talaga nila yan, ma'am.
Sige.
Turo natin, sige. Hanap muna ako ng, lipat ako sa kabila.
Sige.
Dito muna tayo
Next.
kasi may account tayo. Sige.
Oo nga. Sige.
Wait muna. Naka-share. Nakikita niyo naman lahat, ma'am, di ba?
Opo, naka-share screen po.
Natin sa MSU account ko, siguro i-sign out natin yun. Or, okay. kailangan natin ng isa pang account. Sige. Continue without an account na lang tayo. Sige.
So, ipa-follow nyo lang. Lahat ba na pumunta sa Google sa browser ng Google?
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Sundan nyo
May
to
account na
kasi
din po.
mapapakinabangan nyo ito when you are researching. So, if
Papunta
you
tayo ng Google Scholar.
Sige, sir. Ikaw na lang sir, para yung
Hindi,
step
ma'am.
by
Sunod
step.
lang ako sa'yo, ma'am. Sunod lang ako sa'yo. Okay, nandito na kami, ma'am. Sign in?
Sige. Opo. Mag-sign up pa, sir, kasi wala pa silang
Ay, wala pala akong account. Ha? Wala akong fictitious account. So,
ako din. May account na din kasi ako.
oo.
Sino ang meron ng account?
Ask them to share their screen, ma'am. Baka meron
Opo.
sila.
Sino
lang natin sila.
Sino ang wala pang account sa Google Scholar? Si
Si
Shika
Shika daw, ma'am. Wala pa. So,
Shika,
share your screen. Turuan ka ni Ma'am Pam.
ang problema nito, sir, meron silang Sino ang gumagamit ng laptop? Mas mabilis tayo pag sa laptop. Ayun, nakaka-share screen pala si Shika.
Opo, ma'am.
Okay.
Laptop? Okay.
Yes.
Ayan.
Si Shika muna. Naka-share screen si Shika May. Si Shika muna ang mag-share screen. Ayan. So, wait lang ha. Mag-open din ako ng aking new. Loading pa. So, Google Scholar.
Hindi po, meron.
Apo. I-click mo yung Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. And then, ano ang nakikita mo?
Wait
Wala
lang,
po.
may
Wala pa?
Ako po, ma'am, meron din po akong Wala pa po akong account dito sa isa.
Wala pang account? Sige, Sheikha, for demonstration lang naman ito. Ifa-follow nyo itong i-follow nyo yung steps. Si Queen muna ang mag-share screen kasi siya yung medyo mabilis ang kanyang internet.
Okay, I will share my
Sige.
screen na po.
So,
Nakikita na po ang
nakalagay
aking
dyan.
screen. Nakikita na po ang aking screen.
Yes, we can
Yes.
see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So,
nandito po tayo sa
Ayan.
Google, tapos just type Google Scholar.
Then,
Then,
oo.
enter. And then, just click the Google Scholar.
Google Scholar. And yan.
Yes. Kung may makikita po
Kasi
kayo sa
may-
gilid na sign in.
Oo.
Ito po.
Yes.
Tapos, just click the sign in. Yan. Loading. Tapos, may account po dito. Ito po ay Google account ko. So, lahat naman tayo ay may Google account. And then, just click your account and enter your password and password.
What if wala pa silang okay,
No
sige,
question.
continue.
Wait lang, I forgot my password. Wait lang po, ma'am.
So the rest of our participants, paki-click ng wala pa kayo sa Google Scholar, paki-click ng link na sinend ni Sir De La Cruz sa ating group, sa chat box.
Ayun.
Ayun. So,
Okay na po, may account na po. Ayun.
Oh, may account ka na. So, yung iba na wala pang account, gagawa kayo ng inyong account sa Google Scholar. And then, kung tapos na kayo, meron tayong search engine. Sige, sa search engine ka, Queen. So, ita-type mo dyan yung ating topic. Kasi kanina, sabi niya, we are going to assign codes sa ating qualitative data from previous researches. So, ang topic natin kunwari ay experiences, pakitype. Experiences living through a hurricane. So, ganito kayo mag-search ng inyong, pwede nyo itong gamitin sa RRL. Plus, may plus pa, Queen.
Huh?
Plus sign. Sige. So, yung nakikita ninyo, yan yung mga researches na available regarding hurricane. So, plus Scopus. SC.
Ano po?
SCOPUS.
SC.
Plus sign.
Plus sign.
Mag-plus ka muna. Tama yung kanina. Yan. Plus Scopus. So, bakit natin siya nilalagyan ng Scopus? Para yung lalabas na data dyan ay yung mga pinakamagandang quality. S lang. SCO. COPUS.
Scopus pala.
US. Yan. Tapos search. Para yung lalabas na article or yung mga title dyan ay yung mga merong quality na paper. Ayan. So, anong title ang nakikita ninyo ng first? Maraming mga titles dyan, di ba?
Yes po.
Kasi ang problema ng ibang students, sabi nila, "Ma'am, bakit konti lang yung iyong RRL? Tapos pareho pa ang iyong introduction at saka nasa chapter 2 mo kasi daw wala silang mahanap na reference." So, si Google Scholar ay bibigyan kayo ng unlimited na references. So, nire-require din sa inyo, di ba? Sabi ni Sir Mayo, 5 years back na mga researches. Di ba?
Yes po.
Sige. Maghanap ka, Queen, ng naka 5 years back ang yung year ng publication. So, wag yun nang kunin yung mga 19 kupong-kupong na Ayan. Okay. So, ito yung example. Nakikita niyo sa screen? Wala akong naririnig.
Yes, ma'am. Nakita po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So, dito nakikita natin yung title. Pakitaas mo na, Queen. Yan. The utility of geographic informations in rapid epidemiological assessment following weather. So, yan yung title. Kung gusto natin itong title na ito, i-download natin. Sige, i-download mo, Queen. Kasi this will be one of our references. Nag-feedback. Impal, pakimute po. Pakimute ng iyong microphone kasi nag-feedback. Ayan. Okay, thank you. Hanapin mo yung yung naka-PDF. Paki-click daw. Sige, view PDF.
Ayaw, may view.
Ayaw niya?
Ayaw po. Kailangan po ating mag-sign in dito sa journal.
Okay. Sige, maghanap ka ng iba yung para may may nakikita ka dyan na understanding hurricane evacuation planning sa baba. Balik ka doon sa Google Scholar.
Understanding.
Sa baba. Sige, ibaba mo pa. Understanding hurricane evacuation. Evacuation planning.
Wala po iba po
Wala?
yung
Sige. Kahit saan lang dyan.
same pa rin po
Actually,
kailangan po.
sige. Sige. Yang qualitative study of parents' experiences. Sige, okay na yan. Pakikopya. Kung dito kasi, usually, ayaw niyang ma-download. Hindi siya ma-download, di ba? Kung minsan, humihingi siya, nakalagay dyan, purchase PDF. Oo, kailangan mo siyang bilhin. So, hindi mo yan mababasa kung hindi ka bibili. So, paano mo siya kukunin na hindi ka na magbabayad? We have another website for that. So, sige Queen, add ka ng another tab. Opo.
Okay.
Sige. Pupunta tayo ngayon sa Library Genesis. So, para makapunta kay Library Genesis, you have to type libgen.is. Doon na sa browser. Yan, Library Genesis. Yes. So, kung nakikita ninyo, Library Genesis, hindi dyan, Queen. I-type mo na lang sa, sa browser. Ay, doon sa may, URL sa taas. Paki-type ng libgen.is.
IS ang gamitin natin ha, hindi yung iba. .is.
Libgen. Gen.is. Okay. Sige.
Ito po.
Opo, we will wait. Yan, paki-click. Yung libgen.is. So, yan ang makikita natin, yung red na Library Genesis. And then, dyan sa may research in, pakikopya yung title na galing sa Google Scholar. Yung inopen mo kanina, Queen.
Ito na po.
Yan. So, pakipindot ng scientific article. Ito sa baba, yung bilog-bilog. Scientific article muna. Wala. Balik. Scientific. Ayan. Okay. So, search. Paki-search. Pag non-fiction ang pinindot mo, ibig sabihin, maghahanap ka ng libro. Okay. So, i-check mo nga yung kanina kung sino ang author. So, same sila ng title, di ba? Sige. Sinong author doon? Same ba sa ating Library Genesis? Yes, okay. So, the same sila. Yung Journal of Pediatric Nursing na may bayad ay available siya sa Library Genesis. So, ang gagawin mo para ma-download mo yan, sige, balik sa Library Genesis gang. I-click mo yung Sci-Hub. Nasa mirrors. Nasa mirrors. Ayan, Sci-Hub. Yes. Sige, paki-click. Alam mo, Doc, Hinaro nagkukuan ni.
Hello, Junior Hinaro.
Sobra, ma'am.
Sci-Hub. Okay. So, pag nasa Sci-Hub ka na, meron siyang lalabas na PDF. So, pwede mo na siyang ma-download nang hindi ka nagbabayad. Pwede mo na siyang maging reference. So, kopyahin mo lang yung nandyan sa baba ng Sci-Hub na may ibon na maitim. Ibon na maitim. Yan na yung iyong reference. Ako ang technique ko, kinokopya ko na yan. Opo, yan. Yung may save dito sa baba, yung sa baba ng ibon. Yan. Yan na yung gusto nating article na gusto nating basahin. Tapos meron siyang parang arrow sa taas, katabi ng printing. Pindutin mo lang yon, Queen, para makuha mo yung article na yan. Nandun sa dulo, right side. Ayan, download. Sige. Pakiclick. Ayan. So, pag na-click mo yung download, automatically magsisave yan sa iyong computer. So, ibig sabihin, nakuha mo na yung article for free. So, pwede mo na siyang basahin at magiging reference mo na siya. Ayan. Oh, 'di ba? Ang bongga, hindi mo na kailangang mamroblema. Ma'am, wala man akong reference kasi wala akong makita. Nandyan lang
Wala na silang
po.
excuse ngayon, Ma'am Pam. Lahat
Yes.
dapat recent na lahat ng resources.
Yes. Kasi yung iba,
Life
bakit
hacks.
konti lang itong RRL mo, ma'am? Wala man kasi kumahanap na mga 19 kupong-kupong pa yung nasa Google. Punta ka sa Google Scholar, marami doon. Gusto mo
Kompleto pa.
2021 pa na year, nandyan.
Updated.
Pwede na mag-demand
Yes.
si Ma'am Pan. Gusto ko ng 50 references.
Yes!
Within 5
Minimum
years.
na 50. Sige. So, ito, gagamitin nyo yan. Pwede nyo yang magamit sa inyong RRL, sa ating introduction ng inyong research. Kasi you cannot write a research without reading first. Sino bang nakagawa dito ng research na hindi pa nagbabasa?
Ay,
Ha?
Wala po.
O, tawa sila. Marami dito ang nag-iimbento lang ng kanilang research. Totoo hindi? Kasi ganyan din kami noon.
Maswerte nga sila, Ma'am Pam, ngayon eh.
Oo nga.
Atin
Sige.
noon, Diyos ko, nangangapa talaga tayo.
So, kapag mahirap ang research, dalawa lang daw ang ibig sabihin, sabi ng aming mentor, si Doc Japos. It's either hindi tayo naturuan ng maayos or ano gani ang term, Ma'am Mer? Tung tuslo ko nagkarayom sa mata.
Magkuha daw, kuan, alpiler.
Hindi ka kasabot, magpakamatay ka na lang.
Islukay mong mata o alpiler daw para masakitan ka.
So, ibig sabihin nun, we have to exert effort talaga
Yes.
para makagawa tayo ng research. So, uunahin natin syempre na maghahanap tayo ng previous researches. So, ano nga yung ating process dito? Si Brainel. Hi, Brainel. Sa ganitong first step, para makahanap tayo ng mga researches.
Go to Google Scholar.
Go to Google Scholar.
Tapos,
Tapos po, pag wala
maghanap
ka sa
ng
Google.
Maghanap ng topic. After that, get the title and just type
punta kay
LibGen.
libgen. Ganito,
IS.
libgen.is. Pagkatapos, kung
Paste
article
mo
siya, kung article siya, ipipindutin lang yung scientific articles. Pero kung libro, kung gusto mo ganap ng libro, sige Queen, balik ka doon. Kunwari, libro ang hahanapin mo. Anong topic ang gusto mo?
Fiction.
Pag fiction kasi, ano yan, yung mga short stories, novels, gano'n.
Non-fiction ba dapat?
Sa non-fiction tayo. Anong title ang gusto mong i-research? Maghanap tayo ng libro.
Halimbawa,
Children
leadership.
literature.
Sige daw, children
Children
literature.
literature.
Children literature search.
Okay, marami Peter.
Ayan, marami. So, di ba? Libro yan. So, wala kayong rason, ma'am. Wala kami hanap na reference. Ang dami dyan, no? Sa Library Genesis. Pili ka lang dyan. Pakipindot. Anong title ang gusto mo?
Peter Hunt.
Sige daw.
Dito po.
Sige, doon sa title. Ayan. So, nakikita nyo? Yung, pakipindot ng yung box also available. Ano nakalagay? Wait lang, kasi hindi ako feeling ko akin yung screen. So, ayan. May nakasulat sa taas na get. Sige, pindutin mo yan. Diyan. Doon sa book cover, doon sa cover, meron nakalagay sa taas na get. Yung may mga, yan. So, pag pinindot mo yan, makukuha mo yung libro for free. Ayan. So, nagda-download na siya. Pero pag ginanap mo yan dun sa Google Scholar, magbabayad ka po ng minimum of $10. So, magkano $10 sa atin? That
500.
is Oh, see? 500 pesos. Gagastos ka muna ng 500 pesos before you can have that book. So, see? Napaka generous ni Library Genesis dahil binibigay niya sa atin ng free yung
Okay,
libro.
eto na po.
See? O yan, meron ka ng reference.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Magagamit namin ito, ma'am.
sige. Okay na tayo?
Yes po.
Sige. So, stop sharing at balik tayo sa ating main topic. I hope yung
Okay,
iba
balik na tayo. Share ko na main
nakakasunod.
screen, ma'am.
Apo. Sa slide 19 na ta, sir. So, I hope na nakuha din ng ibang participants. Kasi for sure, meron dito magiging advisor ako at maghahanap ako ng maraming RRL. So, wala na kayong rason na walang libro sa library. Ma'am, nandun po sa Library Genesis. Marami. Okay? So, in slide 19 na yan, sir. Okay. Defining deductive codes is critical because it documents our point of departure and which codes were part of our understanding before data review. So, balik, sir. Okay na yung kanina. See. Sa ating deductive codes, sabi kanina, kailangan meron tayong nakaset ng mga codes. Na yun yung hahanapin natin sa mga sagot ng ating research participants. Yung ating deductive codes ay galing sa mga previous researches. So, kailangan, pag nag-deductive coding tayo, magbasa po ng different articles, ang advice sa amin, if you are conducting research, do not read a book. Kay, bisan magpakamatay pa ka, di jud ka kasabot anang daghan kaayo. Pero kung meron kang makukuha doon, better. Pwede yun sa iyong introduction. Personally, yun yung ginagawa ko. Then, sa defining deductive codes, so meron na tayong for example, nakapagbasa na tayo ng different researches, previous researches. And then, nakuha natin yung deductive code na flood conditions. Pero, ang gusto nating kunin na sagot ng participants natin ay yung kanilang experience. And then, dito, naka-on ka? Nag-feedback. Okay. So, in order to better capture the participants' experience, instead of environmental condition na flood conditions ang ilalagay nating code, gagawin natin siyang assessing environment. So, next slide, sir. In addition to deductive codes, we discerned inductive codes that took us in valuable but different directions from our predetermined topics. So inductive code is also called open coding because it starts from scratch and creates code based on the qualitative data itself. So dito, you don't have a set code book. All codes arise directly from the survey responses. Unlike sa deductive codes na meron na tayong nakaredy na code book. Kasi nga, nagbasa tayo. Sa inductive codes, ang codes natin ay nakadepende sa sagot ng ating participants. Doon pa tayo mag-iimbento ng codes, ng codes sa kanilang mga sagot. Next, sir. So deciding to what degree we will use deductive and inductive codes is beyond the scope of this data set. But we will note that in studies driven by a theoretical or conceptual framework, we might exclusively use deductive codes. So pag ang ating research ay theoretical or conceptual, meron siyang conceptual framework, ang gagamitin natin ay deductive codes kasi nga meron tayong pinagbabasihan. Next slide. So in studies that are more exploratory or data-driven, we would instead incorporate a large number of inductive codes or perhaps only inductive codes. Because we are embarking on an exploratory sequential mixed method study, we are privileging the inductive codes. So, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, inductive codes ay nakadepende doon sa data na makukuha natin from our research participants. Wala tayong na-set na codes. So, dahil exploratory sequential mixed methods ang ating pinipiling method in our mixed methods of research, we are interested in data-driven approach in order for the qualitative phase to be closely aligned with participants' perspective rather than with a predetermined list of codes. So hence, next slide, sir, we were attentive to inductive codes. So, which includes actions, time scale, authority, socializing, and absolute languages kung ang ating topic ay regarding hurricane. So, our approach, both deductive and inductive, was pragmatic. Next slide, sir.
Ma'am Pam,
Yes,
may
po.
paadaw muna na guest tayo.
Yes, sir. Sino yon?
Pumasok
We
si
have-
ma'am, si Doc Leo D. Moniz po from Division of Sultan Kudarat po, ma'am.
Ay, okay. Welcome, sir.
Si
Doc.
Dr. Leo D. Moniz po.
Wow, sir. Welcome po. Dr. Leo Dimones, thank you po for gracing our webinar. I hope you can learn something from this webinar po. Sige. Okay, so shall we continue? Balik muna dun sa previous, sir. Okay, so in other words, we were interested in coding for the who, what, where, and when of the data. The who was addressed by the people codes and the where was addressed by environmental codes. Next slide, sir. Next slide po. Sige. So let's go back to this previous example. What is our code for people here? So pansinin niyo po, ano yung code natin for people?
Partner.
Yeah. Okay, yes, si Miss Joy, thank you so much. Ang code natin for the people is yung partner. Okay, how about environment codes?
Socializing environment.
Ay, okay, sorry for that. Nadamay lang si environment sa orange. It should be naka-blue. So, ang atin pong environment codes, pag sinabi nating environment, that is where this, anong tawag doon? Hindi naman siya, ano dito, while living. Ayun. Saan sila nakatira?
North Carolina.
Before, ayun. So, sa North Carolina, that is our environment code. So, in this extract, we've highlighted various phrases in different colors corresponding to different codes. So, each code describes the idea or feeling expressed in the part of the text. So, next, sir. Next slide. So, the when was addressed by the time code. The what was addressed by the person, communication, and emotion codes. This code serves as organizing codes under which more specific subcodes are placed. Next slide, sir. Okay, so now let us take a look at this. Anybody who wants to volunteer? Pakibasa po ng statement ni Dina. Aside from Queen. Yes, Brainel? Si Brainel, pakibasa.
The barrels that I worked at has to be closed down due to the flood. I walked through the restaurant after the waters had receded and could not believe what Floyd had done. I immediately started to cry. Table and chairs were moved around or tossed over. Everything had a nasty film on it, and the kitchen was destroyed. It was also sad to think that I would never be returning to see all the familiar faces and friends that I had made.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Brainel. So dito, sa statement na ito, kung titingnan natin, nag-uusap lang kayo ng iyong research participants. Pero, paano mo siya magiging data? Dito, sa example natin, Dina describes her place of employment. Saan siya nagwo-work? Sa? Saan siya nagwo-work?
Sa restaurant po.
Oo, sa restaurant. Sa pangalan ng restaurant ay Darrell's. So, a restaurant that was destroyed and how the world of the restaurant is now gone forever. So, yun yung data na makukuha natin sa sinabi ni Dina. Her account of this loss suggests a lack of control or agency. There is finality in how she expresses the enormity of the loss. She does not seem to have any control over the restaurant's fate. Though she does not explicitly say that she feels out of control, we can argue that the quotation implicitly suggests the absence of personal power. So wala siyang magagawa, di ba? I would never be returning to see all the familiar faces, sabi niya. So notice that some codes are strictly descriptive. So katulad ng friends. So dito, familiar phrases and friends that I had made. So pwede natin kunin na code yung friends. Kung ang iniisip natin na theme ay loss, yung nawala sa kanya. So, nagets nyo? Okay, let's proceed, sir. Descriptive codes are topics that are lower on the conceptual ladder than interpretive codes. So descriptive code is first cycle method of coding that involves reading through qualitative data and coding passages across the topic. Katulad nung kanina, we are considering friends as code na descriptive kasi nakita na natin doon sa passage. Unlike sa interpretative or interpretive codes, next slide, sir. In studies that attempt to build theory, there could be numerous interpretive codes. In studies that are more descriptive, we might focus instead of surface level codes. In our generic study, we focus largely on descriptive codes, but also considered interpretive codes such as trying to live normally. So ang interpretive codes are more abstract and might require returning to data more than once to consider subtext. Kasi doon sa descriptive code, in vivo coding ang tawag doon. Kukunin lang natin yung mga sinabi ng ating research participants. Pero sa interpretive codes, tayo ang mag-a-analyze. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin? Deeper definition, understanding natin sa sinabi ng ating research participant. So, here, next slide, sir. So here is the structure of the combined deductive and inductive codes. Say, sino gusto magbasa? Time check natin. 11. Sige. Anybody who wants to read? Amiriel. Sige, si Amiriel.
My experience with Hurricane Floyd does not contain words such as disasters or tragedy. It was educational adventure for me and time to bond with my new mother-in-law.
Okay. So dito, paano natin ginamit ang descriptive coding at interpretive coding? Ang una ay interpretive coding. Paano? Kasi naka-highlight dyan, educational adventure. It was an educational adventure for me. So, hindi daw disaster para sa kanya, hindi tragedy para sa kanya yung Hurricane Floyd, kundi educational adventure. So, that is a kind of attitude. So, we are interpreting it, we are coding it as an attitude. While ang mother-in-law is given na part of the family. So, si mother-in-law ay nilalagay natin siya sa code na family. Next, sir. Next slide. I think we have limited time, so isa-isang example na lang muna tayo ha. So as mentioned earlier, we use primary codes such as persons, actions, psycho-emotional, communication, time scale, and environment to organize more specific subcodes. So notice that the subcode negative emotions has subcodes of its own, anxiety. So tingnan nyo, ang primary code natin ay person. And then, magsa-subcode tayo ng family. Yung person na family ay considered si mother-in-law at saka si husband. Nasa subcode ng family. And then, sa actions naman, ito yung primary codes natin, we are going to subcode it as assessing environment. So, nasa example natin na hindi natin binasa, we are assessing, the participant is assessing the environment sa pagdi-describe niya na thick and gray ang sky. And then, sa psycho-emotional, ang primary code natin ay psycho-emotional, ang subcodes natin ay attitude. Sa first na attitude natin, positive yung attitude ng ating respondent. Pero dito sa next na natin, sa second na example natin, ang attitude niya ay negative. So merong anxiety. And then we also have a primary code of communication and our subcode is media. So under kay media, ang subcode naman ay news. So next, sir. So para madali ang coding na ito, huwag niyong kalimutan yung Sonar Cube at Code Grip para matulungan tayo in how to generate our codes. So at this stage, we want to be thorough. We go through the transcript of every interview and highlight everything that jumps out as a relevant or potentially interesting, as well as highlighting all the phrases and sentences that match these codes. We can keep adding new codes as we go through the text. After we've been through the text, we collate together all the data into groups identified by code. These codes allow us to gain condensed overview of the main points and common meanings that recur throughout the data. Because in the step 3, we are going to generate themes. Here, we look over the codes we've created, identify patterns among them, and start coming up with themes. So theme is as pattern. Themes are generally broader than codes. Most of the time, you'll combine several codes into a single theme. So, doon sa statement ng ating participants, magko-coding tayo. At yung codes natin, i-group natin siya into primary codes and subcodes. Pagkatapos nun ay mag-generate tayo ng themes. So, broader ang themes kasi nga, dito ay we will identify patterns among them and start coming up with themes. So, next slide, sir. So, what is theme? It is a pattern that can be identified within a data set. It's a topic repeatedly throughout your data. So, ibig sabihin, kung 10 yung in-interview mo, kailangan yung theme ay nakikita mo sa kanila. Repeatedly. Or pwedeng doon sa isang tao, nabanggit niya yon ng ilang beses. Yun ay magiging theme mo sa qualitative data. Kaya medyo trabahoso ang ating qualitative data. So themes are generally broader. The most of the time, you'll combine several codes. So nabanggit na natin. Sa next slide, sir. Konti na lang. So ito yung example of our coding. So at this stage, we might decide that some of our codes are too vague or not relevant enough. For example, because they don't appear very often in the data. So sinabi natin kanina na yung mga codes natin, pwede natin siyang tanggalin kapag hindi siya masyadong nag-a-appear sa ating data. Pero dito, ginawa nating theme ay actions. So, ang lumabas na codes na nakuha natin out of the participants' response is assessing environment, decision-making, experiencing loss, helping others, socializing, trying to live a normal life. Yan yung mga actions ng ating participants na naka-experience ng hurricane. And then, nag-code tayo kanina, primary code natin, psycho-emotional. Ito yung theme natin kasi maraming mga psycho-emotionals na naranasan ng ating participants. So, nabanggit nila yung nag-code tayo kanina ng attitude, lack of control, yung lack, tapos positive emotions, compassion, gratitude, so nagpapasalamat kasi at least buhay pa rin kahit na nawala na lahat. Then meron tayong negative emotions na code for anxiety, guilt, sadness. So, nagigilty kasi siya nakaligtas, yung kapitbahay niya hindi, mga ganon. So, sadness kasi nawalan siya ng pamilya, nawalan siya ng gamit. Yun yung mga psycho-emotional na theme. Okay, next. So, di ba, yung chismis, yung kwento lang sa'yo, nagiging data. So, next here is reviewing themes. So now we have to make sure that our themes are useful and accurate representations of the data. Here we return to the data set and compare our themes against it. Are we missing anything? So babasahin mo na naman siya after mong nag-code, after mong naka-decide ka na ano yung theme mo, babalikan mo si data kung meron ka bang na-miss. Are these themes really represent or really present in the data? Narinig mo ba talaga ito? Nag-appear ba talaga ito sa data mo, sa data set? So what can we change to make our themes work better? So i-review mo pa, pwede mo pa siyang baguhin. Saan ba dito yung pwede ko pang idagdag? Saan ba dito yung pwede ko pang baguhin? So yun po yung reviewing themes. So if we encounter problems with our themes, we might slip them up, combine them, discard them, or create new ones, whatever makes them more useful and accurate. So next slide, sir. Step 5 na tayo. Defining and naming themes. Now that we have a final list of themes, it's time to name and define each of them. So defining themes involves formulating exactly what we mean by each theme and figuring out how it helps us understand the data. So naming themes involves coming up with succinct and easily understandable name for each theme. So for example, next slide, sir. Paano natin i-name yung ating data? I mean, ang themes. Next, sir. Ayan. So, ang theme natin, example is attitude. Paano natin siya i-describe? So, sasabihin natin, this code is applied to any quotations where the hurricane flood and aftermath are assessed or evaluated. So katulad ng example natin kanina, I was convinced, sabi niya, na tanga yung mga nakatira doon sa tabing dagat kahit alam naman nila na malakas ang bagyo. So that is an attitude. Kung mga ganong statement, ilalagay natin siya sa theme na attitude. Okay, so sorry for the term ha. Then anxiety, this code captures references to being anxious, nervous, and uneasy. So pag binanggit sa iyo ng iyong respondent, ng iyong research participant na talagang kinakabahan ako pag nakikita ko yung makapal na ulap, 'di ba? Yung mga naka-experience ng bagyo dito, yung sa Palimbang, yung saan nga yun? Sa Kalyapiki. Medyo madilim na yung yung kalangitan, talagang kinakabahan na daw sila. So that is under the theme anxiety. So next, sir. Sige lang, skip natin. Next po. Sige. So here we are going to step 6 na tayo, writing up. Finally, we'll write up our analysis of the data. Like all academic texts, writing up a thematic analysis requires an introduction to establish our research question, aims, and approach. We should also include a methodology section describing how we collected the data. For example, through semi-structured interviews or an open-ended survey questions, yun yung mga methodology natin. Kung focus group discussion ba siya or in-depth interview. And explaining how we conducted the thematic analysis itself. So, paano natin siya kinonduct yung thematic analysis? First, nag-code tayo, and then nag-set tayo nag-combine tayo ng codes para makakuha tayo. Ay, thank you, Sir Leody. So, para makakuha tayo ng data. Ng themes. So, nag-code tayo, i-combine natin yung data, i-review natin para ma-finalize yung theme. So, i-explain natin yun sa ating methodology. And then, the results. So, results or findings section usually addresses each theme in turn. So, yung results natin. So, meron tayong definition yung kanina, di ba? So, how we describe often the themes come up and what they mean, including examples from the data as evidence. So, meron tayong examples ng definition natin, ng description natin ng theme. So, ilalagay natin yun sa results. So, nalaman mo na yung mga karamihan doon sa iyong na-interview ay sinasabi nila na natatakot sila pag lumalakas yung hangin, mga ganon. So, finally, our conclusion. So in the conclusion, you are going to explain the main takeaways and shows how the analysis has answered our research question. So para magkaroon tayo paano ba natin i-report yung ating results? At paano tayo makakagawa ng conclusion? So next slide, sir. We will venture on analytical reports. So analytical report refers to the report that contains information along with necessary analysis, explanation, and recommendation. So si analytic report is a type of business report that uses qualitative and quantitative company data to evaluate as well as analyze a business strategy or procedure. So that is, dito sinasabi na analysis, explanation, and recommendation. It will not become an analytic report if it does not present recommendation or if does not only presents analysis of information but also interprets the information and makes recommendation. So, lalabas dyan yung ating results and conclusions. So, this report usually deals with complex and critical issues. So, some definitions of renowned authors are given. Next slide, sir. Sige. Dito na tayo sa example para mabilis kasi meron pa pala si Sir 11 na. Nandyan pa si Sir De La Cruz. Okay, for an example of analytical report. So, ang i-consider natin sa ating research ay experiencing loss. Paano ba nabanggit doon sa iyong data ang pagkawala ng mga bagay-bagay, ang pagkawala ng kamag-anak, ng kagamitan, ng iyong mga research participants. So this is an analytical code report on a specific code experiencing loss. A similar analysis would be done on each code. So sabihin mo na experiencing loss was applied to any text segment with the word loss or lost as well as similar terms. So the loss can be tangible, So pag tangible, example, yung food, wala silang food, as well as more abstract. So the code report on experiencing loss, a report of all quotations coded with this code, provides information on a range of participant experiences from losing a jewelry box to an entire town being lost. So narinig ko nga before doon sa yung may flood dito, sabi ng asawa niya, kunin mo yung TV. Sabi niya, bakit manok ang bitbit mo? So ang sagot ng lalaki, mabibili pa daw niya yung TV. Pero pag namatay yung manok niya, hindi na siya makakahanap pa ng ganong manok. So see, yun yung mga maririnig natin doon sa ating mga respondents. At ang problema natin ngayon, paano natin sila i-analyze para maging analytic report. Okay. Next slide, sir. At its worst, loss is expressed as lost lives or lives destroyed. Also, common expression is lost everything, which refers to losing a home and all its content. Next slide. So dito, sabi ni Carlos, he lost everything except for a flashlight and a couple of pictures. The details of the few surviving objects indicate how possessions become especially valuable in light of extreme loss. Some of the excerpts suggest that loss differs based on whether it was anticipated, happening in the moment, or reflected upon after the fact. So ganyan lang yung binanggit niya, pero i-interpret mo siya na napaka-importante na ng flashlight at saka ng picture kasi yan lang yung few surviving objects na nasalba ni Carlos. Okay, next, sir. Here is an example of anticipated loss. We started loading as much stuff as we could because she knew that she was going to probably lose the first floor. We stored stuff on the second level thinking that the water wouldn't get that high. Little did we know it would. So, anticipated loss. Kasi nagkarga na sila ng lahat ng mga gamit nila, dinala nila doon sa pinakamataas na floor kasi talagang ubos na. Anticipated na wala nang matitira doon sa first floor. Next slide po. So some people try to avoid loss by protecting their property, such as putting possessions on the roof, or such as moving their car. So, malalaman natin yan doon sa statement na I didn't want to lose my car, but there was nowhere else to put it. So, some loss was imagined. So, dito sa sa first na statement, pinoprotektahan niya yung kotse, pero talagang wala daw siya mapaglagyan. So that is an expression na importante sa kanya yung kotse, pero wala siya magagawa kasi wala talagang mapaglagyan. So meron din na loss was imagined. So na-imagine na niya, alam na niya na mangyayari yon. Ang example natin ay, I felt pretty bad for the people who probably lost their home. So wala na, alam nilang wala nang matitira doon sa bahay, pati yung bahay sinama na ng baha. So next slide. So after the hurricane, participants take inventory of what was lost and not lost. It is as if naming what they still own reinforces their hold on this possession. So ganito yung pagkaka-analyze natin pagkaka-report. Participants tend to take account of their loss and the loss of others. So para anong tawag doon? Ma-justify natin yung ating claim or yung ating report, ang example natin ay homes, belongings, vehicles, and even lives, sabi ni Michael. Yun yung mga nawala sa kanya. We only lost a tree and it damaged the backyard fence. So at least ito, medyo konti lang. We lost all our food. My dear best friend lost her home during the flood. Pictures, clothes, furniture, and memories were all inside her home. And that home was vanished. So, wala talagang natira. So, that is an experience of loss. Next, sir. Malapit na talaga. Konting tiis na lang. Okay. So, assessing loss is a comparative act. People cannot help but address the comparative loss of others when they write about their own. So dito, pinapakita na, sabi dito, they have lost so much while I lost almost nothing. So pinapakita na merong comparison sa nawala sa ibang tao. My experience through the flood does not compare to my friends, family, and other members of the society that lost their homes, farms, and loved ones. So, yun ay experiencing loss pa rin. Kino-compare nila yung nawala sa kanila doon sa mga kasamahan. Then, next slide. Those who did not lose anything physical nonetheless mentioned the psychological impact and their efforts to try to emphasize with loss of others. So paano nila yon inexpress? Broke my heart to see others lose everything, sabi ni Francis. Sabi naman ni Gina, when I see the news stories of families that have lost everything, I wonder how they will ever recover because the majority of them were barely scraping by before the flooding. So, yun yung mga statements na makukuha mo doon sa iyong research participants na nasusuporta doon sa iyong report na those who did not lose anything physical nonetheless mentioned the psychological impact and their efforts to try to emphasize with loss of others. Next slide. The psychological impact can involve the overwhelming notion of losing everything. Yun yung report natin. Ang support doon ay, sabi ni Dina, I cannot imagine losing everything and then having to move and start over. So, even if individuals did not experience physical loss, they nonetheless lost structure and security. So, sabi ni Gina, the one thing I did lose was the small amount of structure that I had in my life. So, yun yung kanyang statement. And then, next slide. The experience of loss is related to relief. Ang support natin ay Sheila was momentarily relieved that she did not experience loss, but little did I know it was only beginning. Next slide. Because the hurricane and uncontrollable flooding work in unexpected phases, individuals could not always be sure that they had not suffered losses. So, ang support natin sa report na yan ay, as soon as the weather subsided outside, Mom looked at the house to make sure no damage had occurred. When she told me none had, I thought the worst was over. Little did I know it was only beginning. See? Okay, next slide. Reports on each code such as this one allows us to see the range of what matters to participants and suggest directions for how this code can be measured as a variable in the next quantitative phase, as well as specific language we might use in the question items. And that will be discussed to you by our next resource speaker. So that ends my presentation. Next slide, sir. Thank you so much for listening. Okay.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Ayan, thank you so much, ma'am, sa super essential knowledge and information. But before that, I would like to acknowledge again, Sir Dr.
Lord.
Saan eh? Doctor, thank you, sir. So our next resource speaker, he took his Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Physics and Technology at Philippine Normal University. Masters of Education, major in Physics at De La Salle University. Freshman student PhD Educational Management at Mindanao State University. Currently teaching Physics and Research in Science at General Santos City High School, and a professor at Mindanao State University teaching Physics and Research in Science. International Baccalaureate Middle Years Program, Schola Victory Plus, Diploma Program, Singapore Intercultural School, A-Levels, Nazarbayan Intellectual Schools, Cambridge International Examination, International General Certificate of Secondary Education, ASC Jakarta, Sampuerna Academy, Singapore Intercultural School. Researches, experiencing science in 21st century middle school classrooms, International Conference on Advance in Education Technology, development of an experimental science module to improve middle school students' integrated science process skills, International Conference on Educational Research and Innovation. Quality education as perceived by the NES COGSBT stakeholders, European Conference on Educational Research. Please help me welcome our third resource speaker, Sir Jose Paulo de la Cruz Mepe, MEPHY.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So we only have a limited time. So what we are going to do is I'm going to do things more practical, okay? So, but I will just turn off my mic. My camera, I think we will just turn this off because I don't need my camera this time. As I have to, so we're going to start my discussion, but I am going to use a separate app. So I want you to go to joinpd.com. It's already on in the chat box. So once you have joined pd.com, let me just share now my screen. Okay, I will be sharing to you my entire screen. And supposedly you will be here, I think. Okay, I'm going to reconnect now. Okay, are we now? Okay, I'm wait for you. Okay, okay, I have 3 students connected here. Let me check who are the students who are already in my class. Okay, again, the code is IPNVEX. Okay, the code that you have to log in is IPNVEX. So already logged out, so I only have 4 remaining here. Okay, I only have 4 remaining. I hope you will come back here in class so that you can participate in my discussion. Okay, the first thing that, okay, so as Ma'am Pham has mentioned to you a while ago, the next part of this is actually, remember, this is exploratory sequential. So the first part is just coding. Okay, so once you are done with the coding, what do you think would be the next step? So that's the one that we're going to discover here. So let us just have a quick check if you understood Ma'am Pham's presentation. Can you now move the icon? Okay, can you now move the icon and then answer this one? Which code here is different among the 5? Let me just see. Okay, if everyone is now in peer deck, okay, can you try to move your icon? Okay, you have to cross back and forth here. You have to go to Google Meet and then you have to open a browser in order for you to participate. Okay, it would be much better if you have 2 jets. So one for viewing the Google Meet and the other one would be to interact with me. So what do you think here? If then just turn on your microphone and can you tell me which spot here, which one is odd? Okay, actually these are the codes. Okay, we're talking about here some codes describing about students' learning experiences during COVID pandemic. What do you think here is the odd code or different among the rest? Anyone? You can turn on your mic. You are very much welcome to turn on your mic. Wala akong audience. Hello,
Sir.
everyone.
Hello po, sir.
Gumagana ba internet ninyo? Save na lang tayo ng time para makapag-lunch na kayo, okay? I will go through here, okay? I will lecture around. Okay lang pa sa inyo? I will just lecture
I
para
think
makamove on
it's
agad tayo.
teacher presence po.
Teacher's presence. Why do you think it's the different? This is the odd code here.
Kasi po ano, we are virtually po, so hindi po natin face-to-face makikita ang teacher. That is why parang virtual po na, virtual lang yung presence ng teacher during this pandemic.
Okay. So, okay. Okay, good. You have a good interpretation. Who else? Who has like an alternative point of view also? Because remember, this is the risky thing about doing exploratory sequential research, because this has a very high tendency to be being subjective. So for you, because of your experience, you don't for you, the one that is odd here is the teacher presence, because you're learning virtually during the pandemic. Okay, how about the other? What would be your point of view? Okay, let me see. Okay. What do you think? Wala na? Okay, for me, okay, when I did this code, actually this is a part of the research that I'm doing now. For me, the one that is odd here is the teacher training strategy, because if you notice here, you have enthusiastic teacher, contact teacher presence, and teacher accessibility. So all of them has something to do with the interaction of the teacher. So actually, the main theme here described by these codes is teacher interaction. So teaching strategy is, of course, a different theme if you're going to talk about the learning experiences during the pandemic. Okay, how about this one? Okay, I have here themes, three codes. Okay, can you suggest a theme for this group? You can write your responses here. Somebody already have said discussion of tasks with classmates. How about for you? Yeah. What do you think would be a good thing for this one? Discussion of tasks with classmates, fun in doing group works, peer support in finishing tasks. What do you think is an overarching word or an expression that will cover these three codes? Any discussion of tasks with classmates, group works, peer support. What do you think is the theme here? Anyone? You can just give a try. What do you think would be the best theme that will cover all of this? None? Okay, so for this, I would say that this task, okay, I heard a sound. I sent a message. Okay, it was Ma'am Pam. Okay, sabi ni Ma'am Pam, participate daw kayong grades. Okay? So, anong sa tingin ninyo? Na mag-cover dito? Classmates, group works. That means this has something to do with your classmate, right? So this team will cover actually peer interaction. Okay? So the theme here is peer interaction. So that means peer interaction is one of the aspects of the learning experiences by students during the pandemic. So a while ago, there was teacher interaction, then this is peer interaction. So these are some. Later on, I'll show you the themes that we were able to, when I asked my students regarding their experiences during the pandemic. Okay, if you notice here, I have now a lot of sentences now, okay? So, about the other theme the theme here is active learning, okay? So for sure, I'll give you an idea. Before I came up with the theme active learning, for sure I have some code. So I extended the code into sentences. So say for example, um, say for example, number one, our lesson learning tasks, which is online in the learning process. So that means the code here for active learning is the type of, okay, so this is the code, and then I expanded it into a sentence. My question is, what are my basis in constructing these different sentences regarding active learning? Saan ko kaya kinuha to? Bakit ako nagkaroon ng ganitong mga sentences? Anyone? Anyone who has any idea? Saan ko kaya kinuha to? Pwede bang kanya-kanya na lang, mugna na lang ito? Ko kay Marites ang mga words na ito. Kaya kinuha ito.
Ha?
Anyone? So how did I come up with this one? So again, Ma'am Pham a while ago mentioned about using Google Scholar in order for
Previous research.
For your deductive search for your codes, right? Here, take note, when what we are trying to do now here is that because the one that you have gathered a while ago, yung mga themes ninyo, those are just qualitative data. But of course, for a research, we cannot make we cannot make a generalization unless we are able to quantify it. So the first thing that we're going to do now is come from your themes, break it again into codes. But your codes the codes that you have gathered from your participants are inductive. Okay, so but for sure, not all of the codes will like for example, when I summarize all the codes from the students, one of the themes that I came up from the codes when after grouping learning. So may nakuha akong mga codes about active learning doon sa mga students. Pero that will not cover everything about active learning, because that is just inductive, okay? So I did inductive strategy in order to come up with my theme. So after nyan, dapat gagawa din kayo ng search on how you're going to come up with that theme. So balik ulit tayo sa Google. Say for example, active learning, okay? Active learning, what's your active learning theme? Then you're now going to search for some other factors that will affect active learning. So the word that you can use is, say for example, determinants. Okay, determinants. Okay, so marami kayo ngayong makikita dito mga articles talking about determinants. So of course, you have to screen through as a researcher, dapat marunong kayong ngayon mag-judge. Ano ba ang mga researchers dito na mag-answer ng kaya ang other factors, okay, so na mag-affect ng active learning. Malalaman nyo naman yan because may word dito na determinants. Or you can also use the word predictor, okay? So maybe you can use also predictors. Pwede nyo rin gamitin ng predictors or ano bang other words? Indicators, okay? Just everything that will tell us about what are the other factors. So yung mga na-search nyo doon would be part of your code. So this would be your deductive codes. Again, so you have your inductive codes, you have your deductive codes in order for you to cover everything about active learning. So after that one, okay, so that means every statement in your questions later on, hindi nyo lang gawa-gawa yun. Every statement that you made ay may basis. Okay? May basis kayo, may mga researches kayo na magpo-prove na those claims are valid. So say for example here, ito yung survey question ko. Okay, these are my survey questionnaire now about students' experiences during the pandemic. I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? Themes here, which is student-teacher interaction, interaction with peers, active learning, prompt feedback, learning approaches, and technology. So, tingnan niyo sa technology, marami yan, 10. Okay? So, each statement dito, hindi ko lang gawa-gawa yan as a researcher. I search Google Scholar and look for articles that will show me what are the factors about effect of technology during the on students' experiences during the pandemic. So yun na yung sentences ko ngayon. Okay? Again, may mga backup yan, hindi natin pwede gawin lang. Okay, so this will now bring us to our topic so constructing a questionnaire. So I will just share to you. Okay, so after having analyzed the qualitative data and a generic qualitative study, a questionnaire is developed in order to assess whether any of the qualitative findings were statistically generalizable. As mentioned to you by Ma'am Pham a while ago, yung experience of loss. If you notice, marami, di ba? Maraming mga experience of loss. It's a very wide range of loss. And then we have to come up with a simple sentence or statements that would really generate, okay, a level of experience about loss, okay? So ang ginagawa natin ngayon dito sa questionnaire is we want to the extent, okay? In this case, for the loss, their extent of experience. For example, if attitude, their extent of attitude, or maybe in some other cases, ito yung mga general topics that would lead us to exploratory sequential method. Okay? So, I don't have time anymore, so I will just skip this one. So just remember this one. Constructing a questionnaire, this is now the point of interface study in where we are transitioning from a qualitative mode of inquiry to one that is quantitative and focused on measuring variables, okay? So we are going to measure the extent, as I have mentioned a while ago. So usually our general question here is that in what ways do the quantitative generalize the qualitative findings? So we are quantifying your findings in that you have came up in your thematic analysis. So for now, I will just 4 types, okay? I will mention to you 4 types of question items that you can make in order to explore the extent of the experiences of your participants in order for you to quantify your exploratory sequential method research. So let's start with ordinal. Say, for example, like this. You are going to rate a movie. So usually when you rate a movie, you will be asked, okay, rate it with 1 star or rate it with 5 stars. You say 1 star, that means you did not like the movie. So there would be some level, okay? There would be some level, or actually we call it order, okay? There would be some order of how do you like the movie from 1 star that you did not like until 5 star saying that you love the movie. So these type of questions are actually what we call the ordinal scale questions. Okay, so for an ordinal scale of question, okay, so it just labels or to classify cases or measurements into ordered classes. So ordered siya, pero ang kaibahan nito, hindi natin alam kagaya ng small, medium, large. How small is small? How large is large? Hindi natin alam that they are ordered into small, medium, large. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng ordinal scale. So if you have ordinal scales question now, the only thing that you can do in order to interpret your question is hanggang ganito lang. Okay? You're just going to get, okay, on the table, this is how you're going to summarize your results. It's just frequency count. Count the frequency of how many answered 1 star, how many answered 4 stars. And then all you have to do is just to get the percentage of how much. Okay, so you would just say maybe 15 out of how many is this? 15, 19, 25, 31. You have 31 respondents. 15 out of 31 respondents rated the movie as 4 stars. Ganun lang. Ganun lang ang pwede natin gawin for your ordinal. So hindi tayo makakagawa lang tayo ng descriptive interpretation, but we cannot still generalize. Sabihin lang natin, students, 35% of the students, okay, rated the movie 4 stars, and then you would say that 60% of the teachers rated the movie with 3 stars. Ganun lang pwede. We cannot compare them. So the other way for us, for your data, okay, would be to use. So this one is very common, diba? This is a very common survey. This is what we call the Likert scale. In this case now, if you notice, halos pare-pareha lang naman. This time, we have it numbered, okay? 6 for strongly disagree and 1 for strongly. So we call this now as our interval scale questions. So anong ibig scale? So interval scale rating scale questions are the most common type of survey. And we use them to capture the level of feelings the respondent has about the topic of it. So the level of feelings is captured by presenting a multiple point scale to the respondent and toward it. Okay, so like this one, now to interpret. So this time, mas maganda ang numbered. Price them, right? We can get the mean. Okay, we can get the weighted mean of the responses. After getting the weighted mean, we can get a descriptive and inferential statistics. Interval data analysis method. Okay, using questions that are in interval scale. Say you are able to do descriptive statistics, that means pwede mong kunin yung mean, pwede mo kunin yung mean. Okay? Pwede mo rin kunin yung standard deviation at variance kasi it does, remember, in your basic 3.5 and 3.4 can be the same. Statistics, remember? So they, of course, we say 3.5 in simple 3.5 is not equal to 3.4. But in statistics, 3.5 can be the same, there can be no significant 3.4 and 3.5 if you're going to base on the of the answer. So the preciseness of the answers the preciseness of the result will determine if 3.4 and 3.5 will just be same. Another one. So after that, we can also, of course, you cannot say they are significantly different. There's no significance in them unless you're going to do some inferential statistics. If you have two groups, say for example, in your action research, you have your group and you have your experimental group. So you only have two, then you can do t-tests. But if you have 3 groups, then you can have ANOVA. And even like you can also compare like they are increasing on the same level by getting their, okay? Mas maganda na ang interval kasi pwede tayong gumawa ng statistics. Okay? Another one is this. Look at this question. This type of question actually is about same-sex marriage. Okay? So here, in this type of question, the respondent ng respondent ngayon. So, same-sex marriage, it should be against the law. Agree, disagree. Then there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Agree or disagree. Yun lang ang gagawin ng respondent. But how are we now going to interpret this level of agreement of your respondents? Ang tawag natin dito na question, we call it the turnstone scale questions. Okay, for turnstone scale question, this is made up of statements about a particular issue. So you should have a particular issue or theme, okay? And each statement has a numerical indicating the respondent's attitude about the issue, either favorable or unfavorable. So maybe here, your statement will be represented by your different codes, okay? So people indicate now which of the statements agree or disagree, and then you're going to get the average response. Pero paano ba natin kukunin ang average response? Ang gagawin natin una nito ay ganito. Kukuha muna tayo ng mga evaluators natin. Okay? So, or we call them our judges, experts of the field. So, say for example, if you are going to make a question about, of course, classroom practices, so you're going to ask maybe your subject head, and then your other co-teachers that knows the subject too well. So, yung every statement na yun, every statement is score yun ng mga judges ngayon into 1 to 11. Okay? They say, for example, according to your judges, okay, according to your judges, the statement, it should be against the law. Their average response is 1.7. Yan yung weighted score mo. Okay? From the judges. Okay? So, marami to. That means, like 8.4, it's perfectly appropriate for those consenting adults. Meron itong 8.4. So that means ito yung level of agreement. Take note, this is for the judges alone. Hindi pa to sa respondents, sa judges pa lang. Pag bit-bit mo ngayon ito na ngayon ang ibibigay mong question ngayon sa respondents mo. So they have to just, right? So, of course, agree is one mark. Okay, agree is 1 mark, disagree is 0. So, say for example, somebody said it should be against the law. Nag-agree siya dito. So, 1 times 1.7. Okay? Then, say for example, 3 respondents answered it should be a sin. So, 3 times 1.3, yun na naman yung magiging weighted mean mo. And then, kukunin mo yung average ng lahat na to ng statement. Kasi, lahat ng statements na to they will just be representing the theme about same-sex marriage. Okay? So, pwede mo namang i-grupo ngayon, halimbawa, Class A and Class B people, since nakakuha ka ngayon ng numerical answers, you can do again your inferential. You can also get descriptive statistics. Okay? So, again, when administering the scale, you also indicate which of the above they agreed with. Okay? The average level that our judges has agreed upon would not be included on the scale when administered to the individuals. Then after that, the average of those checked would be calculated to determine the individual's attitude, as I have mentioned a while ago. But the problem with the Thornstone scale is this. It can be quite time-consuming and expensive, and examples for the midpoints of the scale for which there is a consensus among the judges can be difficult to obtain. Actually, we cannot determine what would be the average because different judges will have different level of agreement. But the thing is, we can quantify the responses. That is the good thing about Turnstone. Quantify, that means we can do some statistics. Okay? This is another type of question. Ang gagawin naman natin dito ay actually, ito naman increasing difficulty, okay? Or increasing or decreasing yung complication. So, pwedeng from to a general statement or general into specific statement. Like this one. Ito yung minention kanina ni Ma'am Pham about experience of loss. Okay? So, remember, yung mga respondents natin, iba-iba of experience. So, titingnan natin ano ba ang level ng experience nila. So, like this one, I lost temporary things during the hurricane. So, this is losing temporary things. Then, I lost a number of valuable possessions. Usually, possessions are material things, right? So, from temporary material things to valuable possessions, going to the fourth statement, loss of temporary social structure. So ano ba itong mga temporary social structure? Kagaya maybe ng classes. So they will not interact with their friends because of canceled classes, because of the devastation of the hurricane. Or maybe the extreme end is, I lost both temporary things and permanent social structure. This one, permanent social structure. Maybe this one would involve death. Somebody died, okay? So hanggang saan ba yung level ng experience ng loss ng iyong mga respondents? Ito yung mini-measure ngayon ng Gottman scale. Okay, so Gottman scale questions. So these are now set of statements so that a respondent who agrees with the statement in the list will also agree with the previous statement. Actually, the assumption of this, kung nag-check ka ng level 3, it is also assumed na dapat nag-agree ka sa level 1 at saka level 2. Okay? In other words, each statement subsumes the lower order statements. Okay? One here is the Borgadus social distance scale. So say for example, ito, question about immigrants. So are you willing to permit immigrants to live in your country? Okay, country level, then to permit immigrants to live in your community. And then to your neighborhood or next door. Or maybe the worst is you want that immigrant, for the closest thing is you want an immigrant to be inside your house, in your family, like your child would marry an immigrant. So hanggang saang level ba yung pag-accept mo ng immigrants into your life, okay? May mga certain level. If you agreed that you the assumption here is that if you're willing to let an immigrant to live into, the assumption here is that means you accept the immigrant in your community and then the immigrant is also accepted in your country, okay, at certain level. Ito yung mga expected natin ngayon na mga scores if you're going to use your questions. Okay? So you have a respondent score. But this one is an ideal scale structure. Okay? This is the ideal scale structure. So, of course, minark ng respondent mo hanggang 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the respondent score is 4. So say, for example, you have 22 respondents here. You would, okay, that means you would say 20 out of 65 respondents are very willing to welcome an immigrant into their family. So, but say for example, 10 out of 65 are only willing to accept an immigrant in the country, but they are not willing to let them into their neighborhood. Ito yung magiging statement mo about this one. But how about if the answers are like this? Okay, this is a non-scale structure now. Okay, so ang hirap nito ngayon, why there is some level of reproducibility of your Gatman score. So this is now how you're going to validate if scale responses are you can say can represent the population under studied. So you have here the C sub R or coefficient of reproducibility. So that means number of respondents in error. So what are the number of respondents error? Dito, yung hindi tama yung walang order yung kanyang pag-mark. Okay, like nag-mark lang siya ng 3 and 1. So ang ini-expect natin, dapat pag nag-mark siya ng 3, accepted din niya ang 2, but hindi niya minark ang 2. So this is an error. So the number of errors, the number of respondents in the error, then divided by respondents doon sa expected natin, okay? And then the number of items, then equal to, okay, -1, right? So if ang answer mo dito ay more than 9.90, that means your question is adequate enough, indicate scalability and ability to reproduce respondents access to the various items from the knowledge of the total score. Okay? So another one, okay, this is the last thing that I just want to share with you. Okay, so again, the validity of your responses, napag-usapan na natin how we can generalize it. But in general, there is also what we call content validity, right? I just want to emphasize this one. So again, bago kung pa ng survey ninyo, you have to test it rigorously in order to make sure that your tool is valid. So that is what we call validity. So for now, what I will share to you are the simple things, okay? Just face validation and content validation of your instrument. By experience, ito ang ginawa ko sa question na ginawa ko, na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. Okay? About the students learning the post-COVID pandemic. This is my recent action research together with my colleagues. We are still in the questions. Actually, this is an exploratory research. Okay, so this is a research of that is utilizing exploratory sequential. So the first phase of the study, actually, I made focus group discussion, okay, with the students. Okay, ano ba yung mga na-experience, ano ba yung mga learning experiences ninyo sa during nung pandemic? Ano yung mga challenges, ano yung mga advantages, so everything that what are the other factors that affects their experience? Yun ang ginawa, okay? So that is why I was able to come up with the themes, okay? Then on the second part, okay, survey research methods were used from the initial exploration, the qualitative findings were used to develop questionnaires that were used to confirm the extent of learning. Again, kailangan mo ng questionnaire to confirm the extent of learning experiences of the students and in informing curriculum designers and teachers in designing flexible curriculum and practices. Ito yung gusto kong mangyari, kailangan kong mag-design ngayon ng new curriculum design after pandemic. Ano na ba ang new normal? Gusto kong magkaroon ng lesson design in the new normal that is pandemic proof. Okay, yun ang gusto kong gawin. So, anong ginawa ko? Anong ginawa ko after ko makagawa ng theme? Gumawa ako ng questionnaire, but kailangan nating i-check if your question is valid. Ang una kong gumawa muna ako ng face validity assessment. So, yung class, yung group of students na in-interview ko to come up with, sa focus group discussion ko, binalikan ko. Okay, the students who were part of the focus group discussions were asked to comment on the difficulty and clarity of the items. So this is actually what we call the think aloud technique. So habang sinasagot, binalikan ko yung mga bata, okay, did you understand this statement? Ito ba yung, is this what you meant when you talk about this, when we were having a focus group discussion experiences? Kasi ang gusto nating mangyari dito is na-catch, although inductive, deductive na to inductive, deductive na to yung mga question ko, some from their experiences, others from the literature, but I just want to confirm, kahit yung level of understanding na naintindihan ba nung response ng mga statement ko doon, valid ba to? Ito ba yung pinagsasabi nila during the focus group discussion? So that I can really capture the essence, okay, of their experience. So after ng face validity, okay, or I did cognitive reviews or think aloud. Yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, think aloud. So the purpose of the cognitive interviewing or thinking aloud is to obtain information about the process respondents use to answer survey questions, identify potential problems that may lead to survey response error, and gain a better sense of their perception regarding the items. After that one, pwede na rin naman kayo mag-content validity. Of course, the first one is give it again to your to experts, okay, to assess. Of course, usually it's grammar, your item allocation, and maybe the scaling of the items. Yun yung mga magiging comment ng mga experts mo. And then after, the same expert now who will validate the appropriate will also be used. You can also ask them for the content to validate the content of your survey. We call it the content validity index. Anong gagawin natin dito? So in every question, tatanungin mo lang naman ang mga experts kung relevant ba yung every item or not. Ito yung tinanong ko sa experts ko. Let me just go back, okay? No, I'm sorry, it's not for the student. I did not include it here. So you just ask them if that question is relevant for that theme. So 1 for irrelevant and 4 for completely relevant. Dividing the number of experts who rated the items 3 and 4 because 3 here is relevant, completely relevant. Okay? So walang in between ha. So kaya 1, 2, 3, 4 lang. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just want to get ilan sa mga experts ko, minimum of 10 para maganda yung generalization mo. 10 experts you're going to validate your item. Okay? So after that one, of course, you are going to expect values from 0 to 1, but the I index, okay? So the ICBI again is your ICBI index should be greater than 0.79 to say that your item is relevant. If it's between 0.70 to 0.79, maybe you need to revise your item. But if the score is 0.70, discard mo na yung item mo, eliminate mo na yon, hindi mo na kailangan yun sa ito face validation pa lang to. So may mawawalang mga questions doon sa validation pa lang. Okay? So that is item index. Okay, item level. This one is the scale level naman. So sa scale level, merong dalawa, just the averaging, okay? Sa SCVI average. So ano ba yung SCVI average? Ang gagawin natin sa SCVI average is we are going to take the sum of the item CVIs or the ICVIs divided by the total number of items. Ito naman ngayon ang judgment natin. Ang gawin na lang natin yung itong, I would suggest for college, pwede na tong SCVI na, divided by average. If you get a score greater than 0.9, that means your questionnaire will have a high content validity. That means you are already confident to give your questionnaire to your respondents. Ganito yon ha. Okay, ito yung mangyayari. Let's take, for example, item number 1. For item number 1, I have 6 experts here. But again, as I have suggested, get is 10. Okay, here, kaya nga medyo delikado pag konti lang kasi in every, like this one, 0.17 agad ang 17% agad ang mawawala sa'yo pag may isa lang na nag-disagree. Remember, ang judgment natin 0.79. Pag dalawa na dito sa number 6, wala na, out na agad yung item mo. At least for 10, pag disagree, that pwede pa. Pag 7, wala na siya. So kaya meron ka ditong item CVI, right? So this will just be 5 or 4, di ba? Divided by 6. So you're going to get 0.83. So for items number 7, lahat nag-agree yung mga experts mo na relevant. So the score niya ay 1. So that means walang mawawala, wala na items. Okay, walang matagak na items, but reliable ba as a whole yung questionnaire mo? Okay? Tingnan natin ngayon yung by average. So yung magiging okay, or that means the mean ICVI 0.90. Again, balikan na at ilan ang kailangan natin? 90. So pasok 0.90, that confident enough to give to hand out now your questionnaire to the students. It has a high. Okay? Yun yung ibig sabihin ngayon nito. That would be all for now. Okay? I hope you have learned some. It's already 12:24 now. So I will stop sharing my screen. Anyone, may tanong sa amin na lahat ha? May tanong ba kayo sa amin? Any clarifications? Or wala na kayo?
Yes, you have time to have your questions, my dear participants po.
So I think wala na, hindi students ang 3 hours na webinars.
Gutom na siguro, sir.
Oo, hindi kaya. Ano pa ng lakas?
Congratulations, Sir Pao.
Wala. So I think close then our webinar. Who's going to close our webinar now? Statements? Ma'am Marlani?
Yes po, sir. Yes. Hello, Ma'am Pam. Tapos na po si Sir De La Cruz po.
Nawala yata sila, maraming nawala. Okay? For online until now, we thank you for your time. Okay?
Welcome, sir.
Welcome, sir. Thank you so much po.
So, I hope, okay, you learned something from us na pag-conduct ng mga researches ninyo. Okay?
Yes,
so,
sir.
We hope that next time we could still have a chance to do this. But I'm confident Ma'am Fam is with you. So marami siya maisishare.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, gaganda nito. Thank you so much, dear participants, for sharing your time.
Welcome po.
Welcome po, ma'am.
Thank you po.
Okay,
Yes, you
everyone.
can.
Goodbye.
Anyway, you can PM us. Baka may maitulong din kami sa inyo. You are very much welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome po. Nawala yata si Ma'am Pam. Hello, Ma'am Pam.
Wala si Ma'am Pam.
Nawala siya. Yung MC natin, nawala din. Si Sir, sino nga yun? MC natin?
Sir
Marson Gabel
Thank
po.
you din po.
Ay, oo. Baka nawala yung signal ni
Ngayon internet. Napagod sa internet.
Kahina kasi ng internet sa amin dito sa Palimbang ngayon, sir.
Ano man?
Oo.
Pwede na ba mag-face to face dyan sa Palimbang?
Wala. Wait lang natin sandali, baka makapasok din sila.
Okay, send natin message kay Ma'am Pam.
Sige daw, sir. Bisan si Sir kahandig o nawala siya. Doon siguro sa school ang problema.
Yeah. By the way, participants, wag muna kayong mag-log out. I forgot something. Hindi kayo makakuha ng certificate. Yes, you are going to answer the evaluation form, okay?
Yes, sir.
Kukunin ko muna yung link. Buti na lang ilalaki before kayo umalis. Open for some time, okay? 2 hours lang. So that by 3 o'clock mamaya, i-close. Only answered this question, the evaluation question, okay?
Yes po, sir.
Parang gigutom din ang internet ko. Wait for sandali, ha? I just need to open. Marlani yung link kanina.
Nasa GC natin yun, sir.
Hanap.
Forward na lang natin dito siguro sa chat box.
Bakit meron?
Ayaw mag-operate. Ayaw din mag-cooperate.
Tawagan ko muna si Ma'am Pam sa ano niya, sir, ha? Sa cellphone niya, sir.
Hintay muna namin yung link. Humina din yung internet connection ko.
Lahat ngayon, sir, ba? Anong number ni Ma'am Pam?
Sabi kasi ng internet connection lunch daw, nag-overtime daw.
Sige lang, sir.
Kaya pati si Google ayaw na akong pagbuksan.
Walang signal.
Ayan, opening na, at least gumagalaw. Sige lang, ikot-ikot lang muna siya. Biglang bumagal talaga. Hanapin muna, ha. Habang hinihintay din natin si Ma'am Fam. Oops, ayaw. Kinikick out ako ng messenger.
Sa signal na, sir, ba?
End ko muna ang isang device. Hanapin muna natin. There. Pero lumabas pala ako sa makapasok pa kaya ulit ako sa meeting.
Makapasok, try mo sir.
Okay, nandyan nasa chat box na. Open that one. That Google Form link. Okay, participants' attitudes towards that webinar. Yan yung sasagutin ninyo in order for you. Mahaba ito. It will take you maybe 5 to 10 answer. After you answer that one, then that will be our basis now. Take note of the name to appear in your certificate and the school. Okay, yan yung mga mag-appear sa certificate ninyo.
Pwede po magtanong.
Yes?
Ano po yung sa designation?
Again?
Yung designation po.
If you are a student or we're now on the participant webinars, okay? That this will be your evaluation form. Paki-check ulit sa chat box. I think yung designation na tinatanong mo, registration yan kanina. Iba ang link natin for registration, iba ang link natin for
nasa chat box sir, no?
Nasa chat box na ngayon, ma'am.
Opo.
Ng meeting natin.
Nalaglag po ako and then nag-join po.
Sir, dito po sa affiliation, ano po yung ilagay, sir?
Name of school, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you po. Hello?
Welcome.
Okay, yung forward ni Ma'am Fam kaninang 12:18, yun ay para sa attendance. Okay, kailangan niya ni attendance. Another part naman, kailangan nyo rin na answeran ang evaluation. Bibigay ko lang. Okay? So sige nga, habang sasagot kayo, hindi pa naman tayo maka-out, hinintay natin si Ma'am Fam. Anyone, can you share? Ano natutunan ninyo? Kahit one word lang, kahit masaya na kami, kahit isa lang ang natutunan ninyo sa ng pinagsasabi namin.
Yes, tama sir. Sino sa inyo makapagbigay?
Para naman worth it yung 3 weeks namin na kulang sa tulog.
May nag-invite na ba sa atin, Sir Paulo?
Saan, ma'am?
Si Doc Liudi from Division of Sultan Kudarat na maging speaker daw tayo if pwede.
Part 2 na part 2.
Nakita niya kasi yung gipost ng sir ng MSU Grad School, doon siya nag-ask siya. Opo, doon niya nakita daw. Late niya na nakita, kaya late na siya nakapasok kanina.
Okay.
Opo.
So, hindi man makapasok si Ma'am Fam.
Tawagan ko ulit siya.
One of you can just go out. Once you're done, answering, okay, there are 2 forms that you have to fill up, okay? The one coming from which has something to do with your attendance, and the other one would be for webinar evaluation, okay? So, your webinar evaluation would be the basis for your certificate. Okay? So, once you're done, pwede nang mag-goodbye.
Overall, webinars are more costly than face-to-face seminar.
That would be the last question. The last question, right?
Yes, po,
Okay.
sir.
So, are we all done?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Makikisend po ulit, sir, kasi nawala po ako kanina, kaka-join ko lang po.
Okay.
Ayaw po
I-resend ko,
mag-appear
ha?
ng message. Opo, sir.
Okay,
Thank
i-resend
you.
ko. And then, after ko, sorry. Mali ang nakakopy ko. Not that one. After ko nitong ma-resend, paki-transfer sa Word. Baka kasi mag-exit na tayo. Para kung may mag-ask pa, pakibigay lang ng link, ha?
Yes, sir.
Ang ilalagay sa affiliation ay name of school. Okay? Kasi if you're, wala naman yata nasa office, estudyante yata kayo lahat na natira. So that means name of school na lang. Okay? I'm sorry everyone. I have to go ahead. I still have to go to the hospital. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Okay, I hope to see you again and hopefully in person next time when Ma'am Pham invites us to visit your school.
Salamat, sir.
Thank you,
Ingat
sir.
po.
Kay Ma'am Marlene, iwan mo kita.
Thank you so
Sige
much,
po,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, ma'am. God bless po.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ma'am Merlani.
Thank you, anak. Keep studying, everyone.
Yes po. Relevant po yung topic niyo kasi since gumagawa na po kami ng research.
Oo, kaya maswerte kayo. Hindi kasi lahat naka-attend na ganito. Baka gusto niyo ulit sa next Saturday, November 27, may free webinar din kami.
Titingnan po sa schedule, ma'am. Pwede naman present sa akin, ma'am. Tapos
Opo, Saturday. Oo. Send ko lang sa inyo yung link. Sino yung gusto, pwede mag-PM kayo sa messenger po namin. Wala po yung signal. Anyway, yung mga taga-Mamanswal, pwede po kayo pumunta dito sa bahay para sa yung pwede kayo magpaturo about sa sa Google Scholar then sa Library Genesis po anytime. Yung mga wala naman na yung mga taga-malayo, pwede mag-PM lang kayo sa akin if di nyo masundan.
Ay, ito po pala, ma'am. Baka pwede
Opo.
pong makahingi.
Opo. Willing po kami magtulong sa inyo anytime po.
Kasi po sa sa research namin, need namin mag-consult ng, for example, statistician para tama po or suitable po yung statistical method na gagamitin namin sa research. Kung wala po may idea, pwede po ba kami makalapit?
Pwede, mayroon po kaming ibibigay sa inyo na statistic tool. Madali kasi mag-encode ka na lang po ng data doon, automatic na po 'yon. Kahit walang statistician. Ibigay lang namin
po,
sa messenger nyo. Very friendly po yung yung tool na 'yon when it comes to statistics. Opo. Basta anytime.
At saka po yung yung mga scale po, kasi sabi ng teacher namin, bawal po kami gumamit sa questionnaire ng sariling gawa namin since ang aming topic ay related sa mental health. Hindi naman po kami psychiatrist para ma-assess namin yung mental health. Tapos hahanap daw kami ng mga scale.
Punta ka lang sa Google Scholar, mag-research ka ng mga related topics sa topic mo na yan, then basahin mo yung mga questionnaire nila. Pag magustuhan mo, pwede mo siya i-adapt. What is important, you're going to acknowledge the author in your reference. Para hindi po tayo ma-plagiarize.
Yes po. At saka strict po ang aming school kasi for example, sa RRL, kailangan namin siyang duplicchecker.com or yung plagiarism checker kung
kaya
100%
malaking tulong talaga yung Google Scholar para sa inyo kasi nandoon na po lahat at saka yung Library Genesis po. I-type mo lang po yung topic mo. Halimbawa, ang topic mo about absenteeism or about leadership ba o ano ba yung mga topic mo, dropouts of students o ano ba yung mga gusto mo na mga topic na gawin mong research study mo sa sa subject mo, i-search mo lang po doon sa Google Scholar. Lahat lalabas 'yon. Makakuha ka ng iba't ibang sources. And then ang RRL mo unlimited talaga. Basta nandun na lahat sa sa Google Scholar. Keep on explore lang tayo. Pag di nyo masundan yung steps or yung process, PM lang kayo sa amin. Kasi malaking tulong yung Google Scholar at saka yung Library Genesis when it comes to research.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Yes, welcome. Kasi ngayon gaya dito sa amin modular, so mahirap para sa mga students na masundan yung yung process ng research kasi iba talaga yung yung face to face talaga na ituturo sa iyo compared sa modular na ikaw lang mismo yung magi-explore. Kaya sa tulong ng mga online na mga research natin through Google Scholar and Library Genesis and others, may Mendeley pa siya at saka mayroong Sotero pa. So maraming mga apps na pwede nating magamit when it comes to research. So hindi na kayo mahihirapan tulad ng dati na mangangapa kayo sa dilim dahil hindi nyo alam ano yung unang gagawin ninyo, saan kayo maghahanap ng RRL ninyo. Ngayon, very flexible, very talaga, useful yung Google Scholar. So gagawin lang niyo, gawa lang kayo ng account niyo sa Google Scholar para yung gusto niyo na topic i-add niyo doon sa sa library niyo doon sa Google Scholar para anytime na hanapin niyo nandoon na sa library ninyo. I-click niyo lang yung star, diretso na yun siya makopy doon sa library ninyo sa Google Scholar.
Yes
Oo.
po.
Ma-add doon sa library ninyo. Kaya gawa lang muna kayo ng inyong ng account ninyo sa Google Scholar. Pag hindi kayo marunong, you can have YouTube tutorial how to create Google Scholar account. Mapapanood nyo yung steps doon paano kayo gagawa ng account ninyo sa Google Scholar. I hope and pray na nakatulong din kami kahit konti sa inyo.
Yes po. Yung natutunan ko dun is yung yung Genesis. Kasi ayun, nung nag-chapter 2 kami sa research namin ngayon.
Oo. RRL. Oo, doon marami kang makukuha ng mga sources doon. May books, articles, journals, dissertation, thesis, dami.
Yes.
Mga research work, ng iba't ibang authors. Anyway, pwede rin
Thank you,
kayo Yes po. Yes, Shika May.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Ayun lang ako
Welcome.
na kanang na
Nasa poblasyon Palimbang ka, Shika May?
po General Santos City, ma'am. Working student.
Okay. Okay. Akala ko nasa poblasyon ka kasi biglang nawala sila, Ma'am Pam. Lahat ng mga yata, taga-poblasyon.
Ay, oo.
Oo, nawala sila bigla.
Sa Mamansal ka rin po ba nagtuturo?
Po?
Sa Mamansal ka rin po?
Yes po.
I will be back later.
Kaya pala, mahina yung internet ngayon. Kaya nawala sila, bigla.
Baka by January po, magka-face to face na.
Sana nga. Sana
okay
nga.
Dito naman sa sa NCR, dito sa part namin, parang okay naman sa akin yung ganitong system kasi parang relevant siya lalo na sa amin sa mga teacher. Ganito, marunong na kami sa ng Zoom meetings, webinars. So, nagde-demo kami using
Very advantage talaga.
App. Yung
Yes
Oppo.
po.
So, ang magiging niyan, pwede ka sa traditional class, pwede ka sa online class.
Blended, kumbaga.
Ang mahirap sa ganitong system, blended po kasi sa amin, minsan synchronous, asynchronous. Ang mahirap lang kasi sa ganitong system, yung sa area na mahina po ang
yung
internet.
mga far-flung areas, yung mahina yung internet, yun ang disadvantage doon. Do you want to say something, Amirel?
Wala.
Baka mayroon kang ma-add, ma-share. Anybody
Dun
for
sa RS and RS, ma'am.
Yes.
Kailangan po ba yung i-purpose, no?
Yung ano yun, Amirel?
Yung sa related study po, ma'am, saka related literature po.
Oo.
Kailangan po ba yung...
kasi ma-plagiarize ka.
Oo, kailangan talaga yun siya. Hindi pwedeng kasi baka makasuhan tayo niyan.
Plagiarism.
Opo. Basta always copy the references kung saan ka man kumuha ng source mo. Don't forget talaga to copy every now and then. Kasi i-acknowledge talaga natin yung mga different authors na sources na ating study. Kasi hindi natin kayang mag-isa lang. We need the help of other authors or researcher like us. Kaya ngayon advantage talaga sa inyo, dami niyong natutunan ngayon sa pandemic, no? Kahit virtual lang tayo, but we are connected one another even in a distance. Sa mga ganito.
Yes, you just need to provide data.
Yes. Dito nga sa bahay nagpalagay ako ng wifi. Gumastos talaga.
Ma'am?
Yes, nandito kami sa baryo sa Nanas.
Malakas.
Medyo piso wifi ito nagpalagay ako, 25. So libre na yung gadget ko. Then, at the same time, kumikita din kahit paunti-unti.
Yung mga prepaid wifi po, ma'am, hindi po ba nagana dyan?
Gumagana din. Mayroon ako yung home wifi, pero pang messenger lang siya. Sa mga Google Meet, Zoom, hindi niya kaya talaga.
Wait, wait.
Messenger kaya niya.
Turuan mo lang ako sa how to sa account ng yung Google account, yung Google Scholar.
Scholar, oo.
Okay,
pwede kayo mag-search sa YouTube. How to create Google Scholar account. Then sundan nyo lang yung steps.
Hindi ako nakatuto kanina kay may customer ako. Sorry, guys.
Sana all.
Nandyan ka naman palagi. You can ask naman anytime. Nasaan ka ngayon, Amiril?
Sa Jensen po, ma'am.
Dyan ka nag-aaral ngayon. Opo, sige. Laban Japan lang, mag-aral lang tayo.
Yes po, ma'am.
Oo, kasi sayang yung panahon. Tapos, kagaya nyo, bata pa kayo. So, you have a lot of time. Kaya, wag talaga sayangin yung pagkakataon. So, if you have time this coming Saturday, same time, 9 to 12 pa rin. Pre-webinar pa rin siya. And another topic naman.
Ano siya reload, ma'am?
Ha?
Wala na siya reload.
Wala siyang free load, anak ba? Free certificate, mayroon kami. Pero pag nandito ka sana sa Malisbong, free kita dito sa wifi ko.
Ay, sana.
Free, yes. Totally free yan pag nandito sana kayo. Kaya gani, sinabi ko.
Ng certificate.
Sabi ko, free ko na ngayong internet. Free pa yung certificate. Sayang pag hindi niyo pinaunlakan, sabi ko.
Ma'am, hindi na sobra.
Lagi nagsari sila Isel, ma'am.
Ay, hindi ko nga alam sa kanila. Bakit hindi sila Hindi siguro sila interesado. Kasi sa mga ganito kasi na bagay, diyan mo talaga makikita kung interesado yung tao in attending this kind of endeavor. Hindi kasi lahat interesado. Yan talaga yung totoo. Kaya hindi din natin mapilit yung tao kasi siyempre bawat isa. Kaya atin lang, sino lang yung willing. Anyway, free naman siya. So, free na nga siya. Then you learn a lot pa. Free certificate pa siya. So, pag kami nga, uma-attend kami ng mga webinar, pinakababa na babayaran namin, 1,500. Yes, 1 hour lang yun siya. Yes, we spent 1,500. Ganyan. Kaya, maswerte din kayo kasi free nga ito. So, sayang ba pag hindi nyo i-grab?
Naalala ko nga po noon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes po, good afternoon.
Ma'am, ano po yung possible question for sa next webinar po?
Possible topic po?
Okay, topics.
Ulit yes, okay. Ay, topic Saturday.
Ano po yung possible na topic po for next webinar?
Topics next Saturday po? About emergent of mixed methods pa rin siya. Emergent of mixed methods research design din sa Saturday. Oo. Writing mixed methods research, tuturuan kayo sa Saturday pag mag-attend kayo. Tuturuan kayo how to write mixed methods research. Yun po yung mga topics sa next Saturday po. So if you have time, pwede PM lang kayo, then I will send the link of the registration and the link for the webinar. May free din siya, certificate. Grab it, sayang.
Okay po, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes po, ma'am. Kasi po, yung mga fourth year po ngayon sa amin ay parang kino-compile po nila. Gumagawa po sila ng portfolio for their certificate. So sabi ko, gusto ko dito kasi para po maipon ko na yung mga certificate kasi Nag-update
yes.
ka sa field. Kasi naalala ko noon yung
Oo, sir.
magbabayad pa kayo lumalabas kayo sa school para umattend
Di ba?
sa Jensen, umattend ng webinar tapos may bayad. Okay lang po ngayon kasi i-click mo lang yung link, and then nato ka na sa webinar.
Oo, kailangan nyo talaga din yung certificates kasi pag mag-a-apply ka ng mga scholarship or whatsoever na mga hinahanapan kayo ng mga ganyan. So, sayang naman.
Yes. Last week naman po ay in-invite
Kaya,
kami
pag may nag-invite sa inyo,
dito din na school, ibang school, LSPU.
Oo.
About chapter 2 naman po yun.
Okay. Sa RRL.
Yes,
Oo.
Yes,
Oo,
kaya
kasi
relevant yun sa amin since nagagawa kami ng research.
yes. Kasi ngayon na panahon,
message.
research-based na talaga tayo.
Yes po, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am, sa
Kaya huwag
time.
niyo sayangin yung... Salamat din po sa time ninyo.
Thank you
You may
po.
take
Bye-bye.
your lunch na. Opo, bye-bye.
Bye po.
Thank you so much. See you next Saturday if you are willing po. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you din po. Hello, hi na.
Hi po, ma'am. Ako lang pala naiwan. Sige po, ma'am. Thank you po, ma'am.
Nasaan ka ngayon, Haina?
Nasa Manila po.
Nasa Jensen. At least naka-join ka. Baka may free time ka sa Saturday.
Opo, may GC
I-PM
po kami
kita.
na quick. Opo, sige po, sali po.
Okay. Thank you. Baka may mga kasamahan ka pa dyan na na pwede join. You can invite them. Opo.
Opo, sige po. Thank you po.
Sige. Salamat sa time. Mag-leave na ako, ha?
Opo, sige po.
Okay po.